And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Simon versus Calverledge, step forward, please.
25-year-old grant writer Jennifer Simon is suing her ex-roommate, 24-year-old designer Katie Calverledge, for breaking their apartment lease. Katie says she moved out because Jennifer has a temper.
All right, let's get some stipulated facts here so that we can move on with this case quickly. Ms. Simon, the defendant was a roommate of yours in a shared house.
That's correct.
And according to you, she left 1 month prior to her agreed tenancy.
Yes.
Owing some $900 in rent.
Yes.
The defendant says that while she did agree to remain initially agreed to remain as a roommate and share expenses for the month of January, she was forced to move out because of the behavior that was going on in the house.
Yes.
And you also say, Ms. Simon, that when she left some of her personal property there that was there during the month of January in 2003.
That's correct, making the room unrentable.
Okay. Why did you move out?
I moved out because the behavior that I was dealing with, living with them in the apartment, was unreasonable.
Tell me about the behavior.
Loud, fighting, screaming, physical fighting.
Who was fighting?
Jen and her roommate Amit.
Tell me about it.
I would come out of the shower at 8 o'clock in the morning and there would be screaming and fighting in the hallway. It generally consisted of Jen trying to strike Amit and he would try to hold her back. And
how many times did this happen?
Probably 15, 20 times.
Okay, and when did you speak to her about it?
The first week of November, last week of October. I spoke to both of them at the same time, and I told them the reasons I was unhappy living there, that being one of them, and that if it continued and if I continued to feel uncomfortable living there, I would go back to our original agreement, which was to move out the end of December.
Did they agree to that?
Yes, they acknowledged I was upset and that was my wishes.
No. Did they agree to the fact that they would allow you to modify your rental agreement with them?
Yes.
Is that correct?
No, I don't remember. Amit and I tend to fight sometimes.
Is he your boyfriend?
No, he's not. We've been friends for a long time, but I don't recall the conversation that she's talking about, nor do I ever remember talking about a different move-out time. Our lease ended January 31st, and we were all supposed to live there until January 31st.
Can I ask a question?
Of who?
Of Jen.
No, you ask me.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can ask me.
When I originally moved in, I was told that the lease ended December 31st,
that's true.
not January.
I was taking a shorthand, a bit of a shorthand. Okay. Originally, the lease was up the end of December, but then you all agreed to extend it until the end of January.
Yes.
That was by agreement, so I made a shorthand. Now, when after October and November were you subjected to the kind of behavior that forced you to move, and did you in fact tell Miss Simon that you were moving?
Yes.
What reason did you give her?
I told her that I did not appreciate being witness to the fighting.
When did you tell her that?
The first week of November.
No. After that, you stayed November. You stayed
the first
December.
week of December. The first week of December, I told her my father was coming to town to move my things out the following week, the second week of December.
Is that correct that she moved her things out in December?
She packed up some of her things. Her father did come in mid-December. However, I was of the understanding that it was because she would be gone in Europe for 2 weeks in January. She told us that she would be coming back after the 2-week vacation for the last 2 weeks in January, and she would live with us the last 2 weeks. Her father took some boxes, but she left her bed, she left her dresser, she left several boxes in her bedroom, in addition to several things in the family room and the kitchen.
Did you leave your bed?
No.
I don't believe that.
There's a futon mattress.
Whatever it is that what you slept on?
Yes.
Okay, just a second. Don't play with me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you left your bed. Did you leave a dresser?
No, it was not my dresser. The dresser was there when I moved in.
Had you been using it?
I had used it.
Okay. Did you leave any boxes?
Not to my knowledge.
She left 3 boxes in her bedroom, in addition to a chair in the family room, a microwave in the kitchen, and miscellaneous items
Did
throughout.
she ever come back to get the chair and the microwave?
No, she never took the chair or the microwave. She had a cousin come the last week in January. She moved the bed to the curb, and she took some of the boxes with her, and she tried to move every...
Just a second. Did you know this cousin?
No, we had never met her before.
A female?
Yes.
What's your cousin's name that came to...
I didn't have a cousin come.
Who came?
My friend Jennifer, came with me.
So your friend came with you and you moved out what?
I moved the mattress out and I gathered up my box, my one box that I had discovered that she had moved into.
Where
that
did you
room.
find the box?
It was in that room.
In that room. And what month did you move out the futon and the box?
It was January 16th.
Then you owe her for the month of January. Cookie. You don't leave your stuff, which you did, and expect somebody else to pay your rent. If you, in fact, moved out because of problems that you were having, then you moved out. Your father was there. He was there with a car. He takes all of your stuff and he moves out. And you take your futon and you take your box and you take your microwave and you take your chair and you move out. You don't play with me. So you owe her $735, which is rent and your share of the bills. Take care of your obligations. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's completely ridiculous. She left so many items there that we couldn't rent the room, even if we had had any notice, which we didn't.
The items they're claiming I left there were items we had agreed that I was going to be giving them moving out in the first place, so whatever.
Completely ridiculous. She never sat us down. She never told us that she was going to move out.
Calling me names behind my back when I was leaving the room after asking them at 3 o'clock in the morning to be quiet and quit having parties in the hallway and the living room.
I think she participated very much in the partying lifestyle.
Homemaker Jeanette Troush is suing her neighbor, homemaker Maureen Barton, for verbal assault. Maureen is countersuing for attorney fees she incurred after Jeanette filed false charges.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 162 on the calendar in the matter of Troush versus Barton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
All right, you two ladies used to be friends, neighbors, now you're enemies. Each one of you claim that the other is harassing the other. You also, Ms. Troush, claim that the defendant either stole or took your lawnmower. Ms. Barton says that in addition to the harassment, you filed a complaint against her, criminal complaint, which caused her name to be circulated in the paper, and were you arrested?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
She was arrested. It was embarrassing, and it was all done out of a vindictiveness. How long have you known each other?
For several years, Your Honor.
Before you became neighbors?
No, we had lived there, and then her and her husband and family moved in.
And you became friends?
Yes.
For years?
Yes.
So what caused the problem?
Well, I decided to break off the friendship.
Why?
She had done numerous things in the past that morally I didn't agree with, and it just led up to a point where one day when I walked up to her door, I heard her and her live-in friend Rita talking about me behind my back, and I just thought that was the last straw.
Okay. When was that?
Somewhere around November of last year.
Okay. Now, Ms. Barton, why do you think that this relationship went sour?
Okay, we were friends for a period of time, and then there was an incident with my neighbor where she called the police and told the police that my neighbor
Who's she?
Jeanette had told the police that my neighbor had threatened to beat her up. The police came to my door. My daughter and my son were outside playing at the time. My daughter didn't hear him threaten her, and neither did I. I wasn't even outside. Well, the police came and they asked me if I had heard him threaten her. I told the officer, no, I did not, because I wasn't outside. She got upset with me. After the police left...
Well, how did she know that you had had that discussion with the police officer?
She was standing outside. We lived directly across from each other.
What did she say?
After the officer left, I went over there and I was talking to her, and she's like, don't talk to me, and I can't believe that you wouldn't stick up for me. We've been friends for so long. And I told her, Jeanette, I didn't hear him threaten you, and I wasn't going to lie to the officer. Well, your daughter was standing up.
When was that? Was that in November? Was that in November, Ms. Troush?
I don't know when it was, Your Honor. She's talking about my neighbor, Robert.
I have the police report.
Oh, let me see the police report. Maybe that'll
And
give
I
us...
have also the newspaper I was in.
I don't need that yet. I'm trying to figure out when all this trouble started and why.
Okay,
and whether the court should be involved with it or you should take care of it yourselves. By
That
somebody
same day,
moving.
she accused him of loosening nuts on her car.
Okay. Let me just see the date on it. Oh, well, you say it was November of 2001. This is October of 2001. So it came around the same time.
Yeah.
That's when you stopped being friends.
No,
Now,
I don't even know, what she's talking about. I have called the police on that neighbor so many times for playing his music out in front.
well, this was a nuts and bolts incident, madam, in October of 2001.
That same night, she put a sign in her window. She made up a sign and it said, "Help me, someone is trying to kill me." It was there for 3 days. The co-ops that I live in made her take it down.
So then you became enemies. Now, you say that there's been a problem with a lawnmower and harassment. I'll hear you, Miss Troush, and you have 60 seconds or less to tell me all about this childishness.
Okay. On March 14th, she was yelling out the window. When I got out of my car, she said the BIT filed a complaint against me. She encouraged people in her home to say things to me like, "What a BIT." Again, on Saturday, April 13th, Maureen was yelling out the window to me as I walked from the car to the house, and that's what she usually starts yelling and cursing at me the minute I get out of the car and start walking to the house. And then Tuesday, May 21st, again. And then on Thursday, May 23rd, I just couldn't take it anymore because she said, "You're going to be hurting. I'm going to get you. You're going to get yours. You can't watch your car 24 hours a day. You won't get away with filing a false police report."
And this was May?
And that was May 23rd.
Oh, okay.
And I have a police report and a witness. Another neighbor was outside and heard.
Okay. So she's saying not nice things to you.
Right.
You don't get compensated for that. Tell me about the lawnmower.
Well, what happened is right after May 23rd, and I had filed a complaint with the police, the very next weekend.
What did you file a complaint with the police about?
Because she said she's going to get me and she's going to do something to our car. And
No. Listen to me.
Okay.
Don't make things up as you go along. You said that she said she was going to do something to you as a result of you filing a false police report about her.
Right.
When did you file the police report?
I didn't, and she didn't even know I didn't file a police report. I had called the police.
Okay.
I called the police.
When did you call the police? What
I
date?
called the police Tuesday, May 21st. Her and one of her friends was having a fight in our street, and they were yelling back and forth at each other, and it was really early in the morning, I think 2 a.m., and so I called the police, and somebody, the driver of the vehicle, threw a mug and broke it on our street and then peeled out of there, and that's why I had called the police, and that's what she was angry about.
Okay. What report did you make to the police? Can I see the police report? Because she must have
That is not true what she just said. This is what happened because the police came to my house. On the next page, it tells you what they found.
So you filed a police report. You made a complaint on the 21st of May. I want to hear about the lawnmower.
Okay, after I had made the complaint on May 23rd, the very next week, our lawnmower was stolen.
Yes?
And I'm just saying, it seemed pretty coincidental.
Okay. That's it? That's your side?
Well, there's more, Your Honor. I mean, Maureen knows that I'm a cancer patient and that I have a lot of stress already dealing with my cancer, but yet she continually goes outside and verbally just yells at me. She shouts at the top of her lungs all these bad things to me. Here's a statement from my neighbor.
I don't read statements from neighbors.
And my husband was there, and he heard her, and he knows how many times he's come home, and I've told him how she does this to me.
That's not nice. It doesn't come under the category of being actionable in court. She says not nice things to you. Courts don't get involved with that. And I certainly don't get involved with that.
We had our lug nuts loosened 3 times. So
you seem to have a lot of trouble with a lot of neighbors.
No, we don't.
Well, you had trouble with this neighbor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've lived in many neighborhoods and had a lot of neighbors. I have never called the police on a neighbor. Never.
And later today.
Why did you cause this damage to the apartment?
It wasn't intentional damage.
Yes, of course it was. Did somebody drug you?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeanette Troush says neighbor Maureen Barton owes for a stolen lawnmower and for nonstop verbal assaults. Maureen says Jeanette had her falsely arrested.
Now, you said that you called the police on this neighbor several times for loud music,
Well, he's
for
a young
touching your
kid.
car, for lug nuts. I mean, that's all in here.
He's
So
a
you
young
seem
kid.
to have problems with a lot of your neighbors.
Only them two, and it's mostly
Just a
Maureen.
minute. The neighbor that you initially called a police report in on, where the police asked her about the alleged threats, was that this 21-year-old boy or a different neighbor?
It would have been Robert. Yeah.
Not a different neighbor.
No.
Okay.
Robert lives right next to Maureen.
Okay. All right, Miss Barton, why don't you tell me about your counterclaim?
Okay, June 21st, I was sitting on my porch, and I was with my daughter and my son. Jeanette was getting out of her car with her husband. They were walking, because she lives directly across from me. Okay, as they were walking to their car, I had coughed. Well, Jeanette turned around and she looked at me and she said, "Why don't you shut up?" And I told her, "No, why don't you shut up and leave me alone?" That's when her husband, Joe, turned around and started flipping us the finger.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He was flipping the finger. Okay, they went into the house, and 2 days later, an officer came to my door, and my husband was home. I wasn't. They asked me to come in because they had to ask me some questions. So I went into the police department. I then proceeded to get arrested for a verbal assault that she had claimed that I made against her. She had told the officer that she had a witness that heard me say that I was going to beat her up, I was going to ruin her car, she was going to get hurt, which I never made those statements, but she claimed I did. They arrested me. I went to court, and they dropped the charges in court. My name was published in the newspaper for this arrest, for everybody to see. I didn't do none of this stuff to her. And this is ongoing. It's every day. It's like she'll call the police, and if she doesn't get the results she wants, she goes for something bigger. And I just want this to stop.
Rana, I'd like to say the same thing. You know,
How many times has the defendant called the police with regard to your actions?
how many times has Maureen called the police on me?
Yes.
Never, I don't think.
Never. How many times have you called the police with regard to her or any other neighbor? More than 5?
Definitely more than 5.
More than 10?
May I?
No, just answer my question. More than
Not
10?
more. I wouldn't say more than 10, Your Honor.
Would you say 10?
I'd say it's getting close to 10.
Oh. How old are you?
35.
35. I am several decades your senior, and I've lived in many neighborhoods and had a lot of neighbors.
Sure.
I have never called the police on a neighbor. Never. Had some I liked, I have some I didn't like, I have some that played music loud, I have some that played music I didn't like loud. I'd never called the police on a neighbor.
I understand.
Well, if you want to live someplace and not be bothered by other people, and if you have certain physical problems and you want to live stress-free, go build a cabin in the country.
I understand that.
Listen to me. Go build a cabin where you have no other neighbors. Police have other things to do other than to respond to your, for want of a better word, mishigas, which means your craziness. You got to stop that. Harassment has as its core not somebody saying bad things to a former friend. And I believe her when she says that you were annoyed with her because you had made a complaint against this neighbor. The police came to her, asked her whether she could validate your complaint. She said no, and you got angry. That's exactly how this started. Now, you may have then heard conversations about you, which made you madder, but that's how this problem started. You don't get compensated for that. And this lawnmower baloney that you threw in here, you have no idea who stole your lawnmower a week later? None whatsoever. Why would you even accuse her of doing something when you have absolutely no proof? None. Did you file a formal complaint against her or anyone of her family with regard to the lawnmower?
I did make a report about it, and I did.
You made a report about it. In the police report, did you say that you think you knew who took your lawnmower?
I said it could have been a possibility.
What could have been a possibility?
That my neighbor Maureen, because we were having problems.
That's your problem. You get nothing. However, I believe that filing these charges which caused her arrest were vindictive. And it caused her name to be published in the paper. And it caused an arrest. How many times have you been arrested, Miss Barton? How many times
twice.
altogether? Twice.
Twice.
For this and what else?
Prior, there was a dispute It was me and my husband. It was my husband, but then they dropped the charges, and he's the one that...
It was a domestic dispute between you and your husband. Other than the domestic dispute between you and your husband, have you ever been arrested for anything else?
No.
So it's embarrassing. You have children? Judgment on the counterclaim for the defendant in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties
Claim
are
is
excused.
dismissed.
You may step out.
We did so many favors for her, and she just used us until she couldn't use us anymore.
Judge Judy saw through the lies. She saw what was really going on, and it spoke for itself.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anzua versus Aldretti, step forward, please.
Hairstylist Karen Einzua and her husband Mako Einzua are suing Karen's brother, 25-year-old magician James Aldretti, for the cost to fix a rental car he wrecked.
Miss Einzua, the defendant is your brother. And
Yes.
according to your complaint, you did him a favor and you rented a car for him for credit reasons. Is that right, sir?
No, because I was under 25 at the time, and they charge you an additional fee just to rent. It would have just costed me way too much at the time.
Actually, it was also for credit reasons.
So you did him a favor and then he wrecked the car. And the rental company withdrew directly from your bank to cover the damage to the car. Ultimately, you settled with them, and the entire fiasco cost you $2,066.
Correct.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
She rented the car for you. You used it exclusively.
Actually, she offered to rent the car for me.
But you used the car exclusively. It
Yes.
was for you. When did she rent the car for you?
I don't know the exact date. I know it was, I think, sometime in August. Say maybe the 23rd, maybe 20th. I don't have any.
And how long were you going to use the car?
I had no definite plan at the time because everything at the same time was just going on. You know,
Okay.
I don't want to bring personal matters into it.
When was
but-
the accident?
God, I don't remember the date. Maybe the 20th.
All right, now we get back to somebody who can give me some answers. When did you rent the car for him?
I rented the car September 12th, 2000.
Well, he was close. When were you notified that he was in an accident?
September 17th at night. He got in the accident early that morning.
Well, basically what I have to say about the case here is that,
You were in an accident
Yes.
sometime on the 17th of September. Tell me about the accident.
well, I was coming home from work at that time. I worked at I was a manager at a strip club, and I was driving home. I got off of work kind of late, like 4 in the morning, and I was driving home on the freeway, and somebody cut me off on the freeway, and I ended up hitting the dirt, and it spun my car around. It spun the car around through the whole freeway and hit the center divider, then it knocked me off into a ditch. I was unconscious for like 10 minutes, and I woke up.
Were you
and,
injured?
I was, just interning a little bit. And,
Were you hospitalized?
just for like a couple hours until somebody came and picked me up.
No injuries that required any follow-up.
No.
So why aren't you responsible for this, sir?
Well, because first of all, I never asked her to rent me a car. She took the initiative too. I just asked her to come pick me up at the time because my car broke down. And
He begged me. He begged me.
Shh, please. I want to hear him. Mr. Aldretti,
Yes.
I want to hear you, sir.
Okay. Well.
I am committed to hearing your defense in this case. I want you to understand that.
Okay. And anyways, she said, well, and I said, well, I want to rent a car, but I said it was going to cost me too much. And actually, at the time, when you go to rent a car, they want a credit card. And at the time, I had an ATM, and I didn't have the money in there because what they do is they withhold money for you from the time you rent the
I'm
car.
committed to hearing your defense, but not being bored to death, sir. Would you get on with your defense?
Okay. She said that she would rent me a car, and I said okay. And I feel like she took responsibility for her actions. She basically put her name and everything else on the line for her brother, obviously. And I started looking into it, and I don't feel like I'm responsible for it. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I need to borrow your car, or if I said, hey, go ahead and borrow my car since you need a car, I'm taking the responsibility for their actions. If they get into a car accident, it's my fault. I'm not going to go after them because they got into a car accident. First of all, it wasn't even my fault that I got into a car accident. I mean, I just don't feel like I'm responsible for it. I mean, if I'm going to let somebody use something of mine or get something for them or whatever, and something happens to it, I'm taking the responsibility for it. And the way I feel is that's what the insurance is for. I mean, she's my family, she's my sister, that she's like the only closest family that I have. She owns a business. I've done plenty of things for her as far as her business. I've gone to work for her without asking for anything.
I told you, I don't want to be bored to death. When you're finished, I'd just like you to say, Judge, that's my defense.
Well,
when you're finished.
My defense, Your Honor, is basically she took the responsibility for it. She put her name on the line, and that's what happened, and I feel she's responsible for it because I had nothing to do with it. I didn't take the responsibility for the car. I never signed a contract saying if I get into an accident, I'm going to cover it or anything like that.
Are you ready for the sentence now?
I guess.
You know what the sentence is? Judge, that is my defense.
Oh.
Are you finished? I don't want to rush you.
Okay.
Mr. Andretti, I don't want to rush you, sir.
I just want to get things clear, that's why, because...
No, I want you to be clear.
Okay, and Your Honor, that the reason why I feel like...
Don't repeat yourself, though. I mean, because my mind is still relatively intact even at my age. You know, I don't like things repeated time after time after time. When you've said what your defense is, I'd like you to just let me know. Anything else?
Nope, that's it, Your Honor.
So can I have the sentence, please?
That's my defense.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,066. Mr. Andretti, there is something wrong with you. Now.
It's all Andretti.
There is something wrong with you.
It's all Andretti, though. I just want to...
Whatever.
Okay.
Your sister wasn't at the bar where you were working that night. She didn't drive home 4 o'clock in the morning. You were driving home 4 o'clock in the morning. She did you a favor, hoping that you would act responsibly, that if something happened to this car while you were driving it, that she wouldn't be out any money. She expected you to pay for the car that she was renting for you. That was your agreement, wasn't it? That you were going to pay her for the rental, right?
I wasn't going to... No, I never agreed to her that I was going to pay for anything.
You mean she was just renting the car for you and she was going to pay for the rental?
Well, I was going to pay for the rental.
That's what I just said, so pay attention.
But I never said I will pay for any damages or anything like that. She signed that waiver herself. I mean, she should be taking responsibility for her actions for saying, hey, I'll rent a car for you.
You know, I read your papers, your complaint and your answer in preparation to do this case. I read your words, and let me tell you the little notes that I made for myself. I said, brother smashes rental car that sister leased for him as a favor. Brother's answer is, duh. That was my note. That was my note. I was hoping I would come out here and hear something different from you, sir. That's why I gave you all the rope you needed.
But I feel like...
Grow up! Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out there. Wasn't even fair. Wasn't even...
He's been so irresponsible in the whole matter.
Hey, look, I'm not responsible for it.
He just pretty much bailed out on me.
The way I feel is I don't owe you the money.
Hopefully one day we can, you know, be brother and sister again.
When they had their newborn child, I took care of them while they went to work.
We've always been really close until this point. You know, that's why I really didn't hesitate to rent him the car.
When she opened up her business, I went over there and did work for them while for nothing. I mean, I never asked them for a dime.
Unfortunately, it was his choice to put the strain on the relationship.
Accounts payable clerk Karen Martinez is suing window tinting technician Kent Singleton for detaining her at his place of business and then assaulting her.
Order. All rise. Yeah, on the case number 225 on the calendar in the matter of Martinez versus Singleton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
All right, Ms. Martinez, your claim is one for assault and injury that you allege that Mr. Singleton caused you. I'm going to try to put this case in perspective so we can get down to the nitty-gritty of it swiftly because I have other business today. You brought your car into his shop to have your car windows tinted.
Yes.
Had you ever had dealings with him before?
Never.
You brought it in early one morning, and when you called at about midday to find out the car was ready, Mr. Singleton or somebody else in the shop said that they hadn't started working on it yet, but it would be ready sometime later that day.
Correct.
Well, you were annoyed that your car hadn't been worked on yet. You came down to the shop to get the car. It was at that point that you claimed that there was an altercation. You got into your car and you claimed that Mr. Singleton became obstreperous, slammed the car door onto your left arm, causing you to be injured, causing pain and suffering and a whole bunch of other things. Mr. Singleton says you're a very good actress, right?
Yes.
When had you made arrangements to take the car into his shop, Miss Martinez?
I called him the evening before. I called him on the 26th.
And he said bring it in what time in the morning?
He said he does it only by appointments and to be there at 8 o'clock.
And you were there at 8 a.m.?
I was.
What time did he tell you to pick up the car?
He asked me to call him about 2 o'clock.
So what time did you call?
I actually called at 12 as I was leaving for lunch. I thought maybe when I was done with my lunch hour that I could go by and pick up my car because the night before he had told me he would only need my car for 4 hours.
Okay. Called at noon, and what did he say?
He was very angry at me and told me that I was not supposed to call him until 2 o'clock. I was told not to call him. And I tried explaining to him, well, I'm leaving for lunch right now. I was going to be gone for an hour. I thought maybe at 1 p.m. I could come by and pick it up. Well, we haven't started it yet. And he said, call me back at 2. And I thought at that point, because he was so rude to me on the telephone, I didn't feel comfortable with him having my vehicle. So I called him back and I told him that I was on my way, that I wasn't going to have my car done there. If he needed my car for 4 hours, he wasn't going to have my car ready by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, if he hadn't even started
Fine,
yet.
so you went down to get your car. You told him, don't work on my car. I'm coming down to pick it up.
Yeah, and I said it very nicely. I wasn't angry.
So you went down to pick up your car.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I walked into the building. There, I have pictures of the building. I walked into the building on the left-hand side.
Would you talk to me and stop looking at pictures? I don't care which side you walked in.
Okay, well, I walked into the business, and I was standing at the counter. There was 2 gentlemen tinting windows. Mr. Singleton was not there. And I stood there for a moment, and I kind of said out loud, I'm here to pick up my keys for my vehicle. And I looked over, and there was a board on the left-hand side, and there was my keys, and there was an invoice there. And I go, oh, here they are right here. No one said anything, so I picked up my keys, and I actually took the invoice as well. It had no writing on it but my address. I was not comfortable with him having my address, so I wanted to remove my address out of there, and if he brought the invoice, it would show very clearly that I was not messing with his numbers if he had reasons.
You didn't think about all this stuff. Come on, you picked up your keys, and the invoice was on it. What did you do next?
I started walking to my vehicle, and I believe his witness here was yelling at me, not the paperwork, not the paperwork. And I continued walking. Well, he came over and he snatched the paper out of my hand. And I said, well, that's okay. I go, I just wanted my address out of there. He got the paper and there was no words. I went to my car, I got in my car. Mr. Singleton came out of a totally different building, and he came up to my car, in front of my car, over to my car, and opened my car door. He was yelling at me.
Opened which door?
He opened my driver's door, where I was sitting. He opened my door.
You had already gotten into the car and closed the door.
I was in my car. I had started my car.
Go ahead.
And so he came over, opened my car door. He started yelling at me. He was furious at me. For what reason, I don't know why.
What did he say, Miss Martinez?
Oh, he was yelling at me that I was supposed to not call him until 2 o'clock. I couldn't even tell you everything he was yelling at me. I don't remember. I was shocked that he was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
So I tried closing my car door. I reached to close my car door, and he had his arm like this on my car door standing, and he pulled it back away from me. I said, it really doesn't matter. And he was so angry, and he just kept yelling at me. And so I sat there. There was nothing I could do. And then he's called me, and he slammed my door as hard as he could, and it hit me in my arm area here, and it shoved my area here. When he did that, he walked away. I sat there for a minute, 1, because I was in shock, 2, because he had just hurt me. And then I got out of my car and told him I was calling the police and having him arrested for assault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. You didn't find out that somebody died. You're a little bit of an actress.
And later today,
he proposed to me and broke it off.
So what? If he wasn't going to be a good husband, you're all going to go home and you're going to say, lucky, we called it off when we should have. Goodbye and good luck.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen Martinez says window tinting technician Kent Singleton detained her at his place of business and then assaulted her. Kent says Karen is a good actress.
Go ahead.
He yelled at me continually still. I asked my girlfriend, because my phone was not charged, I asked my girlfriend if I could use her telephone. So I got the phone from her and I called 911. He's yelling at me to get off his property. I was not in my car at that time and just kept yelling to get off his property. And I said, I'm trying, because I was getting the phone and dialing. So I finally did get off his property, and I waited for the police for about an hour and a half to get there. They took a report. I have the report.
I'd like to see the report.
Okay. The girlfriend that was with me, she had fully intended to come today. She's a school teacher, and she wasn't able to come today. Her statement...
I don't take her statement.
Okay.
How come you decided not to prosecute?
When the officer came out and took the report, I told him that I wanted to have him arrested, and he talked me out of it. He said that if I did that, he could turn around and have me arrested or have me prosecuted.
For what?
For a false statement, or I don't know why he said that. He just said that it could turn around on me.
Just says the victim desired no prosecution.
I've also talked to somebody at the station since then.
Don't tell me what you said to somebody at the station, madam. That's hearsay. Okay.
Well, I wanted to
have
find
a couple
out.
of things. What?
I wanted to find out because I didn't know that's what that meant. I didn't know that.
Well, that's what
that
it means. It means no prosecution. What do you mean you don't know what that meant? No prosecution.
Well, I didn't have the report at that time, so
but that's
I didn't
what it means.
know.
The victim desires no prosecution means that you decided not to prosecute. Mr. Singleton, okay, you have a slightly different version of the events, sir, but there's one thing that you do say. She was in her car with the car door closed, and you told the police that you opened her car door. Why did you do that, sir?
Because Rich told me what she said to him and what she did up in front, and he said that...
Wait a second. What she did was she took her keys and a piece of paper that was a work order. Your employee had already gotten back the work order. There's nothing on the work order except her name and address and what work was to be done, because no work was done on the car. Is that right?
Yeah, but it shows proof. I mean, if she went and had her car tinted someplace else and, say, got a bad job, she could sit there and say, I have a receipt.
Correct. She could have done that, sir. However, your employee had already gotten back the work order, so all she had was her car and her keys. Why did you open her car door?
Because she basically took the course of events from the very beginning to the very end and twisted them around. And
No. Let me explain something. It's not what happened. And you told her to be there at 8 o'clock. Happens all the time. You tell everybody that day, bring your car in at 8 o'clock. When you get around to doing their car, you do it. She hadn't specified to you what time she needed her car back. And this I'm getting all from what you told the police initially, sir. So, because she wasn't one of the customers that day that said, I need my car back in 4 hours, you pushed her over until later. And you did other cars before you did hers.
No, I never do that.
Well, you did. You were doing other cars before you did hers. But that's okay. You're entitled to do that.
No, I don't do that, ma'am.
Okay. You're entitled to do it if you want to do it. I mean, you hadn't started working on her car at noon, and she brought the car in at 8 o'clock in the morning.
We tell people to be there between 8 and 9 in the morning.
Fine.
Okay, the cars are done according to the way they came in. I have a very, very strong company policy of not putting anybody in front of somebody.
Listen to me, Mr. Singleton. You can tell people, be there at 8 o'clock. It takes 4 hours. You do not explain to them that you're coming in on a first-come, first-served basis. And that may be your policy. Because if you worked strictly on appointment, you would have said to her, be there at 2 o'clock and I will have your car ready for you at 6 o'clock. That's an appointment. But you don't. You have the cars stacked up so that the cars are waiting for you rather than you waiting for the cars. That's your business. You're entitled to do that. I'm not faulting you for that, sir. I'm faulting you because you opened her car door. The situation had already de-escalated. If there was any problem up front, any problem at all up front, that had already been resolved with your witness, who took the paperwork back. Right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So she had a car, she had her keys, she was hysterical. So she's out. So
Ma'am, may I tell you something?
I don't want to hear anything else from you because I don't like exaggerators either. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I hear you.
Good. Because what you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. I mean, nobody killed your child or you didn't find out that somebody died.
No, I'm
It's months later. It's months later. You had an altercation with a mechanic, which happens frequently, unfortunately, and he slammed the door, and I believe that he hurt your arm when he slammed the door, that the door hit your arm because you're not totally in the car, you're not careful of that, and he slammed it, and at that moment it hurt your arm. I don't believe that you almost died as a result of that. Understand that? Okay, so I don't see why it required all the tears, unless, as the defendant says, you're a little bit of an actress.
No, I'm very
That doesn't mean that
sensitive.
he's allowed to do what he did. He can't. Because you slammed the door on her arm, and you hurt her. So aside from saying, I'm sorry, you got to compensate her. Let me see your medical bills. What day of the week was it that you went to his place of business?
It was a Thursday.
Were you working on Friday, June 28th?
Yes, I was at work.
Right. And am I correct that the first time you went to any sort of a clinic or doctor was not until July 1st?
Yes.
And what time did you go to the clinic on July 1st?
I went as soon as I could get the first appointment. I went between 8 and 8:30 in the morning.
And then you went to work that day.
No, I did not. I was taken off work for 3 days. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't drive.
But you were fine the next day.
No, I was not fine the next day.
You stayed at work all day on the 28th.
Yes, my arm was very sore.
Okay.
But it was 3 days later I woke up and something in my neck and my shoulder here was hurting me, and I couldn't lift my head off the bed. I called my supervisor. My supervisor from work came and picked me up and took me to the doctors. I couldn't drive. I couldn't hardly do anything.
What else do you want to tell me, Mr. Singleton?
I feel that when she called and said, "Is my car ready?" She says, "I have to have it by 2 o'clock. I have somewhere to go." I said, "Ma'am, it will be ready by 2 o'clock. It takes us an hour to do each car, then it will sit out outside for an hour. It's hot during the summertime. The tent dries quick." I says, "It will be ready by 2. She hangs up and calls back a minute later. "I'm going to come and pick up my car right now."
Fine.
Now, I've had people upset before because their car isn't being done first. But we do have a bad problem with people making appointments. If we try to do 8, 10, 12, 2, and people don't show, then we're sitting around for 2 hours not making any money. And it is a business.
I understand that, but she said, "I'm coming to get my car." She has a right to do that.
She does have a right to do that.
And I wasn't angry.
I didn't ask you to say anything.
Okay.
He's been very quiet when you've been testifying.
You're right.
Go ahead.
What she did to Rich and what she did to me.
What'd she do to you?
Basically, she twisted. She goes, "I can't believe you haven't touched my car yet."
So?
And I said, "Well, ma'am," I says, "we will have it done at that time." I says, "It's very frustrating, you know, when you're sitting there trying to run a business and people," I'm very clear with people. I tell them.
So I'm not interested in being clear with people. I want to know why you didn't just let her get into her car and leave. You hadn't touched her car, hadn't done any work on her car. She has a right to let that happen. So, should have just let her go.
I probably should have.
And you were angry, and you slammed the car door on her.
Well, I know the door didn't touch her. I mean,
you don't know that at all.
I looked right at her.
You don't know that it didn't hit her at all. You were angry. You slammed the car door. That's what you did. That's what you did, Mr. Singleton.
Can I have Rich stand up for a sec?
No.
Because he was standing right there.
No. I believe that you slammed the car, that you were really angry, that she came in. It's one less job that you were going to do that day. You felt that she was being unreasonable, that you were told her to call at 2 o'clock. Instead of calling at 2, she called at 12, 2 hours beforehand, which took somebody away from what they were supposed to be doing in order to answer her questions when she was told not to call until 2 o'clock.
We don't tell people, you know.
Well, she was told not to call until 2, that you weren't going to have any news for her until 2 o'clock as to when her car was going to be ready. Whatever it is, you don't want a dissatisfied customer. Not happy? She leaves. You lost your temper, and you slammed the car door, and it hurt her. It didn't hurt her $5,000 worth. Did you go to see a lawyer, by the way?
No.
Lawyer would tell her, this is not a $5,000 injury. How much out-of-pocket expense did you have?
$550.25, ma'am.
And how many days were you out of work?
3 days.
How much do you earn a day?
$136, ma'am.
Your out-of-pocket expenses are approximately $1,500. To that, I'm adding another $1,000 for your pain and suffering. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, that's pretty evident. The way she's crying and everything, she is a drama queen.
The whole thing was upsetting, and I'm glad that it's over now.
I think she blew everything up in her mind.
He did that to me and thought that he could do it and get away with it.
Nothing happened.
And I hope that he doesn't do that to somebody else.
She referred to his size and basically called him a type of animal.
I'm just happy, and I hope he doesn't do that to somebody else.
I'm not saying that I did not get hot, but she was not just a total innocent victim.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hardy versus Beaton. Step forward, please.
Groundskeeper Robin Hardy is suing Judy Beaton for dumping horse manure on her car. Judy admits she vandalized the car, but says Robin intentionally spooked her horse.
All right, Miss Beaton, I think we're going to start with you because you seem to acknowledge that you did, in fact, touch in some way the plaintiff's car. And you're going to tell me why you did that. Tell me when this incident happened and where you were.
Yes, Your Honor. It was March 12th. I was riding my horse on this road. I have photos if you'd like to see them.
Yes?
It's a very narrow, windy road with no sidewalks or sidebar to get off of the pavement. And I was almost back to my barn. I have to travel on the road about 100 yards from the trail to the barn. So I was just about to the driveway of the barn when I hear someone beeping in back of me 2 times, very long honking. My horse kind of caved in the back and took off down the road at a quick pace. And I wasn't ready for that, you know, and I was almost toppled off. And I I turned and I saw someone with a black car, and I yelled at the person. I said, "What, are you crazy?" And the person yelled back at me.
Person was the plaintiff.
Yes. I said something like, "What, are you, a freaking idiot?" And she said, "Get out of the road," and passed me very close. As she passed me, she cut the wheel hard, almost hitting my German Shepherd dog who was in front of me, and sped off down the road. I tried to get a plate number, but I could just get a few initials, so that was it. And I went back to the barn, and I untacked my horse and put my horse away. I was really upset about it. You know, my heart was pounding, and I've broken several bones on my horse before, and I have 4 children at home to take care of, so...
You took the saddle off your horse, and what did you do?
I got a bag, grain bag here, and I put horse manure in it, and I started to drive home, thinking I might run into her car or her, because I thought maybe she was going to walk her dogs that were in the car at the reservoir down the road. So as I drove home, I did see her car. It was the only car in a parking lot marked DPW vehicles only, so it wasn't very hard to find it. And I pulled in next to it, and I took out the bag out of my car here. It's a paper bag. It's not going to cause any damage. And I had horse manure in the bag, and I shook the horse manure onto the trunk of the car, and I got in my car, and I drove away.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I do not have a trunk of a car. And I find it ridiculous that she'd be driving around with horse manure looking for trouble.
Tell me what happened.
Okay. I was driving down the road with my dogs to take them to the res for a walk. And I was going around a corner, and I seen the defendant in the middle of the road. I've had horses. I know horses will spook if the wind blows. So I stopped. She didn't notice me, so I beeped real lightly, 2 quick beeps. And she turned around. She didn't even move. She turned around and screamed, "What are you, an effing idiot?" So I slowly went around her, and I yelled back to, you know, get to the side of the road, wherever I yelled. I went to the res, walked my dogs, came back, and my hood windshield was covered with horse manure. Flipped out.
That was that flaky horse manure that she has there, or was it other kind of horse manure?
It wasn't that flaky.
What was it?
It wasn't wet, fresh horse manure.
It was more like that?
Yeah. But
Okay.
not quite as dry and fluff.
Okay.
And
so what did you do?
I called the police. They came down. They
And
helped
your
me.
windshield was covered?
Yes. And where the blades are, the wipers, it was packed in there. So that night, actually, I had to go somewhere, and I put my heat on. You could hear all the horse manure in the engine spitting out at me. I mean, I was really upset about it.
How did you find her?
I went to the stable the next day.
Because you figured it was her?
Yes. And I went there and seen her with her horse and told her. She stated it was not her. She's a school teacher. She has 2 kids. She wasn't even there at the time. She doesn't have a German Shepherd dog. And then the next day I went back there to tell the property owners, you know, what people are doing. I seen the nephew, and he told me that she was there, and she does have a black dog.
Okay, so she ultimately fessed up that it was her.
Exactly.
Okay, what kind of damage was done to the car, other than the mess?
I have pictures. Would you like to see them?
Yes.
Okay. The dent's right here. It's black, so it's hard to see. It's right there. There's 2 pictures there with the dent on it. And the third one is just a side profile of the car to see the condition.
Did you get an estimate on fixing it? It's hard to see.
Yes.
Can I see
have
the
2 of
estimate,
them.
please?
Yes. In fact, I went with the lowest estimate. I tried to be so reasonable with these people.
Okay. Anything you want to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor. The reason I didn't admit that it was me the next day at the barn is because she brought her husband with her, and they both came walking at me with scowls on their face, wanting to know who this girl was. So I denied it because I was at the barn by myself. And I said, if you do find this girl, I said, what do you want from her? And they both said, almost insane, we just want an apology. Then as the days went on, it went to $1,100 for a new hood.
$685.
It went down. There was several estimates.
That's what happens when you have estimates.
So actually, I went to the police because she was relentless to the owners of the barn, showing up, wanting my name and address. I had given her my cell phone number that day at the barn because I wanted to take it off of the owner and let her deal with me. Because I figured she would find out that it was me and I would be the one.
Okay, so you finally fessed up. Why did you go that extra step? I'm just curious, Ms.
I was
Beaton.
just very upset, and I don't know. I was sorry after I did it, but it was too late.
It's the wrong thing to do. Go ahead.
So we actually had a conference call, Your Honor, with the Wilmington Police Department to settle this because it just went on.
Report
I'd like to see it.
It went on and on for days and maybe a week and a half, and I just want it to be over. So Officer from Wilmington Police Department.
It's the first paragraph, Your Honor.
Just a minute. Go ahead.
I had to go and file a no trespass order against Robin because she wouldn't stop going to the barn, and the owners were pressuring me to get rid of her because they were busy. They have children, and they didn't want her constantly stopping over there. So I filed a no trespass order against the barn address, not my address. And when I was at the Wilmington Police Department, he asked me if I would be interested in settling this, and I said yes. The next day, he called me at home, and we were both on the phone with Officer. And we talked, and I said, you know, I didn't damage your car. I may have put the manure on it. I did not dent your car. It's soft. I didn't do it.
Oh, but when you put the whole bag on the car in order to get it out, it dented the hood. It may have been very light stuff that was poured on it, but when all of it is in a bag and you fling it on a hood in order to spread it around, it caused a dent. Caused a dent, and you have to pay. And it was a stupid thing to do, Miss Beaton. So you have to pay for stupidity. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $685. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
What can I say? I think it's outrageous that school cheeses drive around with horse manure.
I still don't believe that it caused a dent. I think it was already there because her car's 6 years old.
And dump it where they want, when they're in a bad mood.
I thought I might teach her a little lesson.
She's an idiot.
Fear for my safety, fear of falling backwards off my horse.
I wanted to find her and choke her.
Don't take the law into your own hands, maybe?
She is an idiot, that's all I have to say.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harvey versus Hyatt. Step forward, please.
Student Tammy Harvey is suing her ex-boyfriend, mechanic Glenn Hyatt, for the cost of breast reconstruction surgery. Glenn says Tammy's surgery is not his responsibility.
Miss Harvey, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours, and it is your claim that he promised to pay for some repair work on breast implants that you had while you were together. You've since broken up, and he refuses to pay for this reconstructive kind of surgery, which you have not yet had. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Were you living together?
At one point.
When?
From March till December of the past year.
And you had breast augmentation surgery previously, is that
Yes.
right? When? How old were you?
27.
Okay. So when you were 27, you had breast augmentation surgery for the first time. Did you ever have any subsequent surgery?
Yes, I had problems.
What kind of problems did you have?
With the first set, I had hardening, which they took them out and put saline and silicone in, where they would enhance them gradually so it wouldn't build up the scar tissue.
And how
then
old were you when that happened?
all of this happened within 5 years. I had like 5 surgeries.
5?
Mm-hmm.
When you were 27, you had the first surgery. When did you have the next one?
Like the year after that.
Why?
After the hardening, they wanted to take out the bulbs that they used to put the saline in. And when he took the bulbs out, he wanted to just put in a new fresh set with the upgraded implants.
So that's when you were 28.
Right.
When did you have the next surgery?
It was a couple of weeks after that I developed a staph infection, and they removed the right breast implant, and then I went a year without an implant.
Without?
Right.
Miss Harvey,
Yeah.
you went and had the implants put in again.
I had to because the skin had stretched so much. The doctor said it wouldn't look normal if he hadn't put another implant in there to replace the...
So then you were 29?
Correct.
So now I have 4 surgeries. When was the 5th?
The year after that, after the staph infection, he put new saline implants in, and then they were fine for the next 8 years.
What happened 8 years later? So at that point, you're about 38.
Right. I started dating the defendant, and I was having some problems. They were hurting. We massaged them together, Glenn and I, and in an intimate moment, the right one, it ruptured. And it took some time before the saline came down. But over time, you know, it was obvious, and it made a real impression on my self-esteem and everything. And the defendant and I were engaged to be married, And we were getting his finances in order so we could be married. So I was taking care of the majority of the bills and helping him. And when it came time for me to have my surgery, because last summer we couldn't enjoy going to the pool and everything like that, that's when he took me to the doctor. I had 2 consultations, and the surgeries were between $6,400 and $6,700. At that time, the defendant did a quick app financing the surgery, but it was denied. And now, I wanted to get this taken care of because it is noticeable, and I have pain because scar tissue builds up around the implant where it is because it's flat now, it's not smooth, and I have a lot of pain, and psychologically it's just hurting me, and he's backed away from his commitment to me.
Well, I didn't hear about a commitment.
We've talked over the 2 years about taking care of it.
As a couple?
As a couple.
When you were sharing expenses?
Correct.
Okay, you want to say anything, Mr. Hyde?
I just deny any responsibility for ever saying that I would pay for her surgery, and I had nothing to do with it, with her implant rupturing.
I have a quick app that he said he would pay for it, and I have the doctor's with a picture.
Okay, go ahead.
I filled out that application to help her get the money, for financing her surgery. That's the only reason that I did it. It wasn't to say that I would pay for it.
I think that there is some truth somewhere in the middle of your 2 statements, and that is that it was contemplated that as a couple, since you were going to be pooling your money at some point if you got married, this would be a joint debt because you were filling out the credit application if you couldn't get credit, and you were going to be a couple and move on, and this was just going to be one of the things that you had to pay off. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay, so that's somewhere in the middle of he promised to pay for it and I didn't promise to pay for it. It was going to be a family debt. But you're no longer a family, Miss Harvey. That's your problem. There has to be a reason.
I put most of our debts for the past 2 years on my credit cards to help him get out of debt in the promise that we would be married. And I did have a promise he would pay for it. He's not telling the truth. He said he would pay for the surgery.
Oh, I think that it was a family obligation that when you were together, you put the majority of your money to use paying off debt. That was a nice thing. However, that does not create a promise that he would take care of this for you. I have just a couple of questions, Mr. Hyde. How much do you think she paid off in debt for you over the short time that you were together?
I don't recall her ever paying anything off for me. We took some trips and went to eat and things like that on her credit card. But as far as her taking money and paying any of my financial responsibilities, monthly debts and bills, that never happened.
So what you're saying is that she relieved you of certain stress by paying for your entertainment and your vacations and some living expenses.
He lived free.
Did you pay rent when you were living together?
I did not pay rent. I paid the utilities.
Not always. I paid 7 out of 5 times for the utilities.
I mean, you paid 5 times out of 7 months.
No, he was
Can't
more.
Pay 7 out of 5. That math doesn't work. Miss Harvey,
yes.
The romance is over. It's sad that it's over. And I'm not going to give you any medical advice because I'm not a doctor, but it seems to me a substantial part of your late 20s, early 30s, and now beyond are involved in recuperating from surgery. Maybe you should just say, this was not meant to be.
The doctor said that I would have to have the surgery and the implants needed to come out because of chance of infection. And that
do you have medical insurance?
No, I don't. They won't cover it because it's cosmetic.
Well, this isn't cosmetic if the doctor says it has to come out. For medical reasons, that chance of infection, then that's not a cosmetic reason.
They both
Ms.
denied
Hart.
my insurance.
Well, then I would appeal it, because if what you're saying to me is that you have medical proof that this is dangerous to your health, then your insurance should pay for it. They may not pay for the reconstructive part, but they certainly should pay for removing them. In any event, I find that no promise existed, no contract existed between the plaintiff and the defendant for him to assume the full responsibility of your surgery. And unfortunately, Ms. Harvey, I think you're going to have to assume the responsibility of this surgery yourself. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't think Glenn was truthful, and if he was, that I would have had the judgment.
I think that justice was served.
He did make promises, and that was one of the promises for him to help me and now he doesn't want to.
I never made any of the promises or signed any contract stating that I would pay for the surgery.
It's been awful. I mean, my life's been upside down. I can't wear certain shirts. I have to cover myself up. I have pain.
And I wasn't responsible for the rupture of the implant.
I would just like to get on with my life.
If you want to continue a relationship with someone, then you shouldn't sue them.
It's not worth it.
That's not true.
What did you believe the purchase price was? Don't look there.
He was going to figure out a price later.
How much was the truck? See how you were looking over here? Now you're looking over there.
This is Judy Justice. Raphael Bainan is suing his former employee, Eric Myers, for the cost of a pickup truck, a gun, and a leather holster.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3044, Bainan versus Myers.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Bainan, you have a drywall business?
Yes, Northstar Drywall. I have been in business 30 years.
The defendant worked for you for a period of time. You can tell me about that. And it is your claim that during that period of time, you sold him a truck and he did not finish paying for it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Myers says that he paid you $800 for the truck, that there was never a fixed price that you came up with for the truck, and that shortly after he had possession of the truck, it died, and it's no longer drivable. What did you do, junk it?
We did not junk it, but it is out on her property at the moment.
So you have it?
Not in my possession, but yes, we still have it.
Yeah, we still have it. So, Mr. Myers, I'm going to start with you. When did you start to work for the plaintiff?
I believe it was around June or July of 2022.
And you were homeless at the time?
At that point, yes.
You moved on to the plaintiff's property with his permission?
Yes.
In a trailer or a camper or what?
And we were actually in a big ice shack.
An ice shed?
Yeah,
Who's
shack.
we?
Me and my witness.
Is that your girlfriend?
No.
Who is it?
She is my ex-girlfriend.
She was your girlfriend. You were living together in the ice shed?
Yes.
Was it his ice shed?
Yes, it was.
You had a car?
She owned a car at that time when we met. A couple months after we met, she ended up crashing it, and we were left vehicleless. And at the time, I was working for him, so we worked out a deal to get the truck off the property to let me use while I worked for him to let, help us get around.
Okay. And what was the arrangement that you made at the time that you purchased the truck from him, that you made the deal with him for the purchase of the truck? The truck was not running. It was being used as a storage facility by the plaintiff.
Yes.
Did you spend any money to get it running?
I did spend about $100, I do believe.
Okay. Now, when you agreed to purchase the truck from him, were you over the phone, in person?
It was in person.
Okay. I'd like to see what you have, Mr. Bainan, of the amount that you contracted for with the defendant for the purchase of this truck. And Sarah, would you take a look for me to see a range?
Sure, I have that pulled up.
Okay, great. Hold on one second. Okay, let me just see what you have.
Okay. I have a contract, but it was sitting on the office table, and he refused to sign it, so.
This is not a contract. He didn't sign this.
No, he refused to sign it. It was sitting on the office table.
Well, he didn't sign it then. They didn't sign it for a reason.
Push it to the side, so.
Okay. Then it's not a contract, sir.
Well, no.
No. Okay, you have any other proof with you that he agreed to pay $2,200 for the truck? Where did you get the truck, by the way?
Actually comes from Georgia. Well, I bought the truck probably 7 years earlier. I had it for quite some time.
And who did you purchase it from?
A private party.
Was it registered?
Yes, I registered it as soon as I purchased it.
Was it registered when you sold it to him?
Yes.
And it was a current registration?
Well, when I signed the title over, then he went and put it in his name.
Do you have the title to the truck?
Yeah.
I'd like to take a look at it. Mr. Myers?
Let's see, I have registration and the title.
I'd like you to tell me, you sound like a pretty intelligent guy. How much did you purchase the truck for?
We wrote $100, but...
No. How much did you purchase? She's looked up the value, which she's going to tell me in a moment, both private party, trade-in, etc. You paid $800 towards this truck.
Over time, yes.
Is that right?
I disagree with that.
How much did he pay?
I've only received one payment of $100.
Well, then he's going to show me the rest. Is that money that you took out of his pay?
Yes.
You have any other proof that you paid him any other money?
I do not have paper
Okay.
proof.
Well, that's unfortunate. But let's take for a moment, Mr. Myers, that you did pay him more than the $100 that he took out of your pay, and then you quit, then you left. What did you believe the purchase price was, sir? Don't look there.
Okay.
You don't look like a stupid person. You're buying a truck. You say you paid $800 over time. Let's say I believe you. You don't look like a stupid man who would pay $800 if you didn't know how much the total purchase price was. So you tell me how much you believed the total purchase price was. Now you're looking over there. You see how you were looking over here? Now you're looking over
there was no original purchase price. All that happened is he was going to give us the truck, us put it in my name so we can drive it and then figure out a price later. After we fixed it and figured out how much it's going to cost to fix the problems on it and to see the shape that it's...
Well, you said that it cost you $100 to get it up and running. That's what you said it cost you. How much was the truck, sir?
Over 2 months, he took money out of paychecks that I worked for him.
Well, show me that, because he says he only took out one payment of $100 and then you quit.
No, that's not true.
You have proof of how much you took out of his pay?
I have a calendar of the weeks he worked and how much I paid him.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at that.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be informative to me. Sarah, what's the range for this truck?
So I adjusted it based on the fact that it wasn't running, so I put it fair condition as opposed to good, and the 250,000 miles based on the complaint. To trade it in, which is to a more official dealership, $212 to around $1,000, and a private party, you know, the ranges are different, ranges from $1,100 to $2,500.
Got it. Oh, well, you prepared this calendar, sir. All this calendar was prepared just recently because it's all in the same handwriting. Who wrote this calendar?
This is my daughter. She's my secretary.
Who wrote this calendar? All right. This is nonsense. She just wrote this today. Yesterday, the day before yesterday. It wasn't written. You can only introduce a paper document if the notations are made under the law contemporaneously with the event. That means at the same time as the event. This was all written by the same person at the same time with the same pen in different months. So this was all done in preparation for this case. So it's hearsay, inadmissible. Where did you get the purchase price of $2,200? At most, it's worth $1,000.
Well, it's Kelly Blue Book, and it was rust-free.
But not rust-free, it wasn't running.
And later today,
I got a yes from my cousin, so then I started on the remodel in December.
You can't do that, Mr. Brzezinski. Sue your cousin. Your cousin authorized you to do work in the bathroom. He never authorized you to do anything.
Raphael Bainan claims his former employee, Eric Myers, owes for the cost of a pickup truck, a gun, and a leather holster.
Now, you have any other proof that he paid you only $100?
No.
No. Okay. And where did you get the purchase price of $2,200 for a truck that wasn't running? At most, it's worth $1,000. Where did you get a figure of $2,200 from?
Well, it's Kelly Blue Book. We looked at that, and like I say, the truck is from Georgia. There was no rust. It was rust-free, which
But not rust-free. It wasn't running. You were using it according to you as storage, because the other part of your complaint is for a handgun that you say was in the truck that you never got back. You have the truck now?
I have it, yes, but it's on her property.
You have it. What are you showing me? You're showing me a picture of a gun that you had.
Well, it went missing, and nobody else took it. He was the only one who had access to where the gun was stored, so.
Well, that's not true. He was out shooting with somebody with a gun, according to you. Who was he shooting with?
That I do not know, Your Honor.
Who were you shooting the gun with?
I was shooting it with Matthew.
Is that right, Matthew?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So Matthew had access to the gun. Who's Matthew?
Matthew's my foreman. He's been with me 15 years, so.
Yeah, okay. Matthew. After you were shooting the gun with the defendant, what did you do with it?
I left before
he was done shooting, and last I seen it was in one of the sheds.
In a shed?
Yeah.
Okay, you're his foreman.
Yes.
Foremen usually have people that work for them?
Yep.
Yep is not an answer. Yes is an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
How many people work under you?
Right now, just 2.
2 in addition to yourself?
Yes.
Do they come on this property?
Yeah.
Yes.
They just started working in the last 6 months.
At the time that he was there, how many people worked?
It was just me and Eric.
You paid him $800 for the truck because you thought that it was worth $800?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe you paid him $800 over time, because if you did, then you would have proof of it. But you can't take his property and retain his property and not pay for it. I don't believe that you had a fixed price of $2,200, which is why you refused to sign this contract. But I certainly believe that you owe him money for the truck. Yes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. You know where the gun is?
No, absolutely not.
Where did you put it when you finished shooting it?
Where he said we walked it, there's 6 guns that all went into the garage, and they sat there for days.
Okay. That's it. $800. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I do understand her verdict with it.
The settlement is done, so there's nothing I can do about it.
I just don't think he really kept track of what he was actually taking out of my pay, and, it kind of showed in the case.
He felt like I was taking money out, but I was not.
Always keep better records, that's for sure.
I'm unhappy, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Purchase price is sort of the material part of a contract. That and a signature would have been nice. Any of these things. I know the plaintiff feels like he had a contract, but in reality, if you have a piece of paper that's not signed, you have a piece of paper, not a contract. Yeah. And, if you can't decide on purchase price before, that's probably a good indicator that you shouldn't be entering into whatever agreement.
Turned over title to him. Mm-hmm. And he still has the truck, and it's still running. He's got to pay something for it.
Yeah, I agree.
I cannot imagine living in an ice shed shack. What was it?
I think he said ice shack, but I think you said ice shed. It all blurs together.
In
Wisconsin, I think, is where.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, middle of winter.
That's chilly there.
Yeah.
Grecia and Juan Galvan are suing their neighbor, Ruben Alonso, for vet bills after their dog was attacked by Ruben's dog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3060, Galvan versus Alonso.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Galvan, that's your dog. Your dog's name is?
Yogi.
Yogi. And this is your dad?
Correct.
Miss Galvan, you and Mr. Alonso are neighbors?
Correct.
He lives across the street from you?
No, so he's actually 2 doors over to the left. So his house is the green one on the right side, and mine is the yellow on the left.
Pink house is in between. How long have you lived in your house?
About 15 years now.
And your dog is 13?
Yes.
And Mr. Alonso, how long have you lived in your house?
7 years.
Who do you live there with?
With my wife and my kids.
How old are your children?
My oldest ones are 17 years old, and my youngest one's 13. And forgot to say my son, Jason Alonso. He's 24 years old.
He lives at home?
Yes.
And you have a dog?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's an American Bully.
American Bully is a combination pit bull and what?
Between a pit bull and an English bulldog.
A male dog?
Yeah, male dog.
How old is he?
He's 4 years old.
How long have you had him?
4 years.
How much does he weigh?
70 pounds.
And his name?
Max.
It is your claim, Miss Galvan, that your neighbor, Mr. Alonso's dog, bit and severely injured yours.
Correct.
Also causing some injury to your dad.
Yeah.
Mr. Alonso says that his dog was on a leash, your dog was not, and whatever fight or scrapping the dog has and the injuries to your dog were therefore not his responsibility because your dog was off leash. That's your defense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this incident happened when, Miss Galvan?
On the morning of April 28th at 4:30 in the morning.
4:30 in the morning?
Correct, yeah.
What was everybody doing up 4:30 in the morning?
I work at 5 a.m., so I was heading out to work.
And what was your father doing up at that hour?
He too works at the same company, so we carpool together, and he was walking my dog for me.
Would you ask Mr. Galvan to tell me what happened at about 5 o'clock on April 28th of this year when you were walking Yogi?
Estaba caminando mi perro.
I was walking my dog.
En el momento en que abrí el gate, estaba abriendo el gate.
At the moment that I opened the gate, I was opening the gate.
Could you walk up to the photograph and show me where you were.
Aquí.
You were over there.
Right here.
Estaba abriendo el gate.
I was opening the gate.
Oí pasos corriendo. Cuando volteé, miré al perro del señor.
I heard steps of something running. When I turned, it was the man's dog.
Where was the dog coming from?
De aquí.
From here.
Could you see Mr. Alonso?
No.
No.
Just the dog.
It wasn't true.
Perro cuando ya.
Shh, Mr. Alonso, you're going to have a chance to tell me your version of the events.
Miré al perro cuando ya estaba encima de nosotros.
I saw the dog when it was already on top of us.
Volteé y me golpeó en las piernas con el cuerpo.
I turned and it hit my legs with its body.
Me tambaleó y quedé recargado en el gate.
It made me tumble and I leaned against the gate.
Ya cuando reaccioné, el perro ya estaba atacando a mi perro de la espalda.
When I came to, it was attacking my dog on its back.
Fuertísimo. Lo movía feo.
Very harshly. It was shaking it badly.
Traté de estarlo auxiliando, quitarlo.
I tried to help him and to pull it off.
Why don't you step back now so that... Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Traté de estarlo sacando. Llegó mi hija a auxiliarme.
I tried to help and my daughter came to help.
Y estuvimos forcejeando.
And we were struggling.
Stop one moment. Miss Galvin, at what point did you observe this interaction between your dog and Max?
Instantly. I was walking out of my house and I have full visual of my entire driveway, and I immediately saw when my dog started crying for help. The defendant's dog, Max, was mauling him and viciously attacking him.
What I want to know is when you came out of your house, because you didn't see how it started, you saw that Max was on your dog at that point. Did you see Mr. Alonso?
No.
I would like you to walk over. Your father will take him. Just walk over there and show me where you were when you came out and where your dad was with your dog.
Our front door is right about here, and I was walking out, and my father was here.
Right on the corner near the...
Opening the gate, correct.
Okay. Now you can go back. Miss Galvin, at what point did you see Mr. Alonso, if at all, that day?
After a few seconds of us trying to separate the two dogs, he did come out and try to...
So you saw him coming from his house?
Yeah, he was running from his house.
Running?
More or less.
And what happened when he got to where the two dogs were?
Well, the dog was unleashed and without a collar, so the defendant grabbed his back legs and attempted to separate the two.
Was he successful?
At the time, yes.
So Mr. Alonso grabbed his dog's back legs and pulled him off yours?
Correct, yeah.
And then what did he do?
At that instance, my father picked my dog up through his leash, almost strangling him, to put him on the car that was outside for his safety. The dog, Max, then lunged at my father. I intervened by kicking for his safety, and I got bit in my shoe.
It's not true, Your Honor.
When you say you got bit by Max.
Correct.
Did it go through your shoe?
No.
But
I did get bit, and I felt it.
Okay, but it didn't pierce your skin?
No. My main concern was my dog's damage.
Okay. And Mr. Alonso was finally able to pull his dog off yours?
Correct.
And off
actually
you?
Got dragged on the cement and
Who
the
did?
sidewalk. Mr. Alonso. His dog is very, very strong.
Would you show me, go back to there and show me, Miss Galvin, when you say Mr. Alonso got dragged, show me where. I saw where the incident took place in the corner.
Correct.
And where did his dog drag him? I wanted...
Grecia and Juan Galvan claimed their neighbor, Ruben Alonso, owes for vet bills after Ruben's dog attacked their dog. Ruben says his dog was the one attacked.
Where did his dog drag him?
So everything started here. We eventually tried separating the dogs towards this way. Mr. Alonso was dragged from this area down. The car was parked here, so we managed to put the dog on top of the car, and Mr. Alonso was on the floor wrestling his dog to control him.
You took your dog to the vet?
Immediately, yes.
You have the vet report and bill?
I do.
May I see it, please? Kevin? So your vet bills look in total to be about $4,600.
About 58, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I may have missed one.
He suffered a level 4 bite wound, and from
He
the
was
accident.
very seriously injured. There's no question. He was very seriously injured, spent a long time in the hospital. Okay, Mr. Alonso, the ball is in your court, sir. I'd like to hear your version of what happened.
The date on April 28, what happened, I was walking my dog with the leash. That's what I usually do every day before I go to work.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't speak.
That's what I usually do.
I don't care. Mr. Alonso, I
Yes.
want you to understand something.
Yes.
I don't care what you usually do.
Okay.
And there are certain things that are common sense.
All right.
Do you understand?
Yes. Okay, I was on April 28, I was walking my dog on a leash.
And I also want to tell you to be very careful what you tell me.
Okay.
Very careful.
Okay, April 28, I was walking my dog on a leash.
Show me where you were.
I was walking to the left, right here. That's my house on the green.
I know where your house is.
Okay, I was walking to this when I noticed that the gate was open, and then when I was getting close by, her dog started coming out, barking to the sidewalk, biting my dog in the legs. Okay, biting my dog in the legs. Then when I start pulling out my dog from their dog, that's when Juan and Grecia came out. So they start grabbing their dog too. Okay, Grecia even apologized after the dog to the vet. And then later on, when she received the bill, she wanted me to pay her back.
Your
I said,
Honor.
shh, shh, shh. I said I wasn't gonna pay her back because it wasn't my fault or my dog's fault. That they leave the gate open and their dog unattended.
I want to tell you something. I do not believe you.
Why not?
I don't answer questions. I get answers to questions, and then I have to say to myself, these two people, they were going to work at 4:30 in the morning. You were out at the same hour. Do you work at
Yes,
that hour?
I was about to go to work too. That's what I was taking my dog out.
There are other adults in the house.
Yes, I have 2 more.
Okay. They were all sleeping at 4:30 in the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you opened your door, and you have to understand, sir, I am particularly unabashedly sensitive to pit bulls who are unleashed or not watched. Your dog is 4 years old. I don't know. I assume you have had no prior incident with your dog.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
That's not true.
We'll get to it. Last article, I keep them in my desk drawer, about pit bulls was a baby, a 3-month-old baby, left alone for a second with a pit bull. The pit bull gnawed off his hands. That was last week. So you have to understand that I'm particularly sensitive to a large animal that's capable of causing serious injury, being unattended for a second. You answered my question very quickly whether your dog Max had any prior incidents. You said no. Plaintiff seems to say that that's not true. Now, she's going to tell me about a prior incident, unless you want to tell me about it first.
I never noticed or nothing. Nobody informed me about another accident or nothing.
Your answer is you don't know about a prior incident with your dog.
Yes, I don't.
Is that
know
right?
about it. Yeah.
Why don't you tell me what you know?
First things first, I have an animal control report that proves his statement of his leashed dog incorrect.
May I see it, please?
This is the second attack. Sorry about that.
Well, this recites your version of the events.
Correct.
And the report indicates you're Ruben, is that correct?
Yes.
That you ran out to the scene to try to separate your dogs. Did you speak to animal control?
Yes, I did.
You spoke to them on what date?
2 days after.
May 1st.
Yes.
So you spoke to them?
Yes.
Then this write-up incorporates what you told them, which is consistent with what Ms. Galvin testified to, sir. Okay, I don't know where you are showing me that this was not the first instance.
So the first instance was about a little bit over a year ago, where his dog attacked my dog and he didn't break skin. So animal control refused to create an actual incident report.
Tell me when that was. That was about a year ago.
Yes, so it was actually my mother who was walking my dog. I was out of state at the time. I have a witness statement if that helps for anything, but my mother was walking the dog where his dog was...
You were not there?
No, but...
Then I can't take that evidence because it's hearsay.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay, I understand. The second attack was on a 10-year-old German Shepherd walking in front of our house, walking on a leash by his owner. And again, the dog was out loose. without a leash or collar, where he attacked the German Shepherd.
Was that within the year?
In late January, yeah.
Late January of
Correct.
this year?
Only 5-6 months ago.
Did you observe that?
I did. I assisted in separating and keeping the German Shepherd safe.
Who came out of the Alonso house to retrieve their dog? Was it Mr. Alonso or his son or one of the other children?
I think it was his younger daughter.
What's your younger daughter's name?
No, I got two. They're twins. So I don't know which one she's talking about. Because I never...
Well, you know them both, right?
Yeah, I know them both.
Just a second. Listen to me carefully.
Okay.
You know them both. Mr. Alonso, I don't want you to play with me.
I'm not playing with you, Your Honor.
So there's no question that if anything happened with a German Shepherd and one of your twins, who were not babies, came out and retrieved your dog, they would have told you about it.
I haven't heard from nothing from that.
Really?
He was involved, Your Honor.
What?
I spoke to him about the situation just days after the last incident with him. I brought the German Shepherd and the owner, and
Where's the proof?
Grecia and Juan Galvan have accused their neighbor, Ruben Alonso, of owing for vet bills after his dog attacked their dog. Ruben claims their dog was off leash and started the fight.
Just a second.
He said, "Your dog barks a lot. That's why my dog attacked him." Your Honor, if my dog knew how to talk, we wouldn't be here.
Just a second. When you say that after this attack on your dog, the serious one.
Correct, yeah.
You brought the German Shepherd. Whose German Shepherd was it?
Somebody that lives in our community.
And the owner?
Yes.
To see Mr. Alonso.
Correct, because Mr. Alonso said that my dog was barking too much, and that's why Max attacked him.
Okay, so now you bring the German Shepherd. Your dog, Yogi, is at the vet.
No, this is a few days post-op. My dog was recovering inside, indoors.
Okay, so your dog is indoors, but wasn't with you when you went to confront Mr. Alonso with the German Shepherd.
Yes.
And the owner of the German Shepherd.
Correct.
Okay, and can you tell me what Mr. Alonso said during that confrontation about the German Shepherd? Not your dog. What did he say about the German Shepherd?
Nothing. His demeanor was very aggressive. He turned, he was up putting on some cameras in his home. He turned, did not say a word, and turned back around. And his son was there as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Stand up. Over there, please. Your first name?
Jason.
Jason, do you remember Miss Galvin coming to the house? Your father was there. She was there with a German Shepherd and its owner. That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. Were you close enough to hear the conversation? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Did you hear the conversation about your dog at some point having a confrontation with the German Shepherd?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Tell me what you heard.
The plaintiff ended up bringing the owner of the dog over, and he...
The owner of the Shepherd?
Yeah, the owner of the Shepherd. And he said he didn't want to start no problems or nothing.
He didn't want to?
He didn't want to start any problems.
Who said? The owner of the Shepherd?
The owner of the Shepherd.
The owner of the Shepherd said,
I don't... He said it was an accident and stuff happens, and he didn't want no problems with this.
I want to know, before he said that, what was said about Max attacking the Shepherd?
The plaintiff was claiming that...
Plaintiff said
that Max bit the German Shepherd.
Okay. And the German Shepherd and the German Shepherd's owner was there.
Correct.
What did your father say?
He was just quiet during the instance.
Just a second. So he said nothing?
Correct.
Did you say anything?
At the current moment, I was actually holding the ladder stand because he was on a 10-foot ladder installing cameras. That is very unsafe for me to try to tell him anything.
Just a second. Did he come down from the cameras?
He was still installing the cameras as they came up.
Well, now there are two people there. One person there with a dog that he knows has been seriously injured by his dog, and a German Shepherd who I'm absolutely positive that one of your sisters discussed with him had an incident some months before. Don't say no, because I have to tell you something. You lied to me once. You lied to me once, sir.
That accident wasn't nobody said nothing to me about it. That's why I didn't talk to the guy, because I don't know if she...
Well, you talked to her. What I'm telling you, Mr. Alonso, is you lied to me once. I believe nothing else. Certain things are common sense. I have children. I've had dogs. If one of my dogs was involved in an incident, and I was involved in separating them, and I was involved in making the situation better, when my parent came home from work, I would say, let me tell you what happened. And they would tell you. Or they would tell their older brother what happened. And the older brother might tell you. But somebody would tell you.
It wasn't brought to my attention.
Wasn't brought to your attention. I'm going to bring something to your attention. Do you have homeowners insurance? Do you own your house?
I don't own a house. I rent the house.
You rent the house. Do you have renter's insurance?
Yes.
Does the renter's insurance that you have know that you have not a French bulldog? Because that's what it says here. Somebody identified your dog as a French bulldog. French bulldog is different from a bully.
I have a license that says it's not even a pit bull. It's an American bully.
It's classified in its own breed.
I actually know what an American bully is. It's not a French bulldog. Do you have a French bulldog?
We do not.
Your Honor, he has 3 in his garage at the time. And sometimes when he illegally breeds, he has 7 or 8 at a time.
It's not illegal.
Not true.
We got papers to prove that.
We're licensed breeders, Your Honor. All of our dogs are purple ribbon UKC show dogs.
That doesn't make this dog any less vicious.
Correct.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Dog caused serious injury, and either your father is just in a total state of denial or he hasn't been introduced to the truth. I don't know which one it is. Either way, I'm entering a judgment for them for the full amount of their vet bills. Now it's documented that your dog has attacked at least once. And if you let that dog or any of your other dogs out, they're going to take that dog and destroy it. You do know that.
Yes, we do.
And that will be your fault because you're the owner and the responsible person to make sure that a dog that is capable of serious physical injury doesn't injure a person or another animal. That's your responsibility and any other adult who lives in the house. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $6,500. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think the decision was bad. I mean, they tried to consider my dog a pit bull. He's not a pit bull.
She was just, she followed the truth, and that's all we could have asked for.
Their dog got out and started biting my dog, so my dog defended himself.
Mentira, porque él nunca lo miré, el perro apareció de repente sin collar, sin correa, y fue cuando nos empezó a tocar al perro y a mí.
It's a lie. He came and there was never a leash, neither a collar. And that's when the dog started attacking the dog and myself.
Probably set up another fence in front of our yard, probably establish something a little bit more secure than what we have now.
Yeah, I've had him for more than half my life. I mean, that's my companion, my bud, my best friend, and to see him in pain for weeks after was even equally as traumatic as the incident itself.
I definitely would say it'd be avoided. We will be taking precautions going forward, make sure this doesn't happen again.
The truth always comes to light.
I always say if you choose to get a breed of dog, that's your choice. And if the dog, for some reason, and dogs can go off, attacks you, you're a grown-up, you've made a conscious choice. But when you bring a dog that has the potential of causing serious physical injury or death into a house with young children, I actually think that should be an absolute liability for people who do know that certain dogs have the capacity to maim. And despite that, they choose that dog and bring a dog into a house with toddlers and infants. I just think that that's so irresponsible. I have a drawer full of those.
I have seen it. I know you too.
Of those cases that just are heartbreaking.
Are you having... He continues in a moment.
Your sister brought him.
Yes, ma'am.
The one that's going to fix her face, right?
I paid for that piercing.
You paid for the piercing? You think that makes her look attractive?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larry Freeman claims his daughter's friend, Paul Henson Jr., owes for breaking his windshield and for urinating in his motorcycle helmet. In a moment. Want justice? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Did you dare him to urinate in your father's helmet?
No, ma'am.
He just did it on his own?
Yes.
Good. So, there is absolutely no proof that Mr. Henson damaged your windshield. Your father is suing him for $346, both for damage to the helmet and to damage to the windshield. Mr. Henson's going to pay your father $346 just for peeing in his helmet. Because that was a stupid thing to do and very irritating.
Yes, Your Honor.
Part of it is actual damage for what you did, and part of it is compensatory damage for being a fool. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $346. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Some get clever.
That's the story. I'm sticking to it.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Others get hostile.
I'm going to tell you what happened.
Judge Judy gets the last word.
They don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous. They keep me here because I'm smart.
I want him to move on with his life, and I want to move on with mine.
Like I said, I feel like they get better friends than that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of X-Line versus Pace. Step forward.
Laurel X-Line is suing her son, 21-year-old Derek Pace, for damaging her four-wheeler. Derek claims the damage occurred due to mechanical failure.
Miss X-Line, the defendant is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And your lawsuit claims that he came out for a visit. You live in where?
Show Low, Arizona.
And you come from?
Texas, Del Rio.
So he traveled from Texas to Arizona for a visit.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he got there, he rode a four-wheeler.
Yes, ma'am.
That you bought, and it is your claim that he broke it. You want him to pay to have it fixed.
Yes, ma'am.
Your son says that he didn't break it. It was already broken, he thinks. But certainly he didn't break it. And he's counterclaiming because he says he was so uncomfortable and it was so tense after he had this accident on the four-wheeler that he went home, and he wants you to pay the expenses for his travel round trip because he didn't have a good time. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you both nuts? Are you really both crazy?
No, ma'am, it's more about responsibility and respect. I mean, when they came back with the four-wheeler, I have MS, and I was diagnosed 3 years ago, and that four-wheeler is my lifeline. I use that four-wheeler for everything. I use it to feed my horse. I use it to water my horse.
Then you shouldn't have let him ride it. Miss X-Line, how many children do you have?
One.
You have one child that
Yes.
you're suing? I mean, I quite frankly, I don't get it. I mean, my children have taken my cars and had accidents. I had a story once, Miss X-Line, one of my children, after the car went over an embankment into a little ditch, tried to tell me that the earth opened up because of severe rain, and that's how the car slid down the side of the road. You know that child. It didn't work. I mean, the story didn't work, but I didn't sue him. I mean, I used that car to get to work, and I really needed it as my lifeline. But it would never dawn on me over this kind of thing to sue a child.
I think it was all the attitude that was taken when it happened. Like that it was nothing, it was not his fault, it was not his responsibility. Why was I crying? It was
Well,
just
he said it wasn't his fault.
Right.
He didn't say it wasn't his responsibility. He said it wasn't his fault.
Well, he didn't feel like it was his responsibility either.
Because he says in his answer that he didn't do anything to cause the damage to the four-wheeler.
Well, I have photos here of when they took off on the four-wheeler, the day they took off. And I have photos of when it was taken off to the repair shop.
Well, of course, because there was an accident with it, but he said he didn't cause the accident. The accident happened as a result of a mechanical defect.
Well, I think you can look at the pictures and it will tell the story.
I don't think it's going to tell the story, madam, but I want your son to tell me what happened when you took out the four-wheeler.
Well, we took it out. We got there the night previously, and the next morning we woke up and she told us that she wanted to take her four-wheeler out and take it up in the mountains, go see the snow and all that kind of stuff. So we took it out, and we realized we were kind of running out of gas. We were trying to find the road because we'd lost our way on the way back through the mountains. And then I realized that the back wheel was you could feel the back end of the four-wheeler sliding. And I stopped to look at it, and the back wheel, the axle had broken off, and the wheel was messed up.
Is it possible that you went over a rock? Is that possible?
It's possible.
Possible you went over a log?
Possible.
Is it possible that as a result of doing that, the axle broke? It's possible.
Possible.
Sure, a lot of things are possible.
If I borrowed your car, I would fix it if I tore it up.
Well, if I borrowed your car and through no fault of my own that I knew about, that I was aware of, something happened mechanically and I was in an accident and I was injured, I would sue you. And you better have insurance on that car. So unless you have, Miss X-Line, some proof, and that would have to be by virtue of someone who was an expert in four-wheelers, that something that this young man did caused that damage.
I have a statement.
I don't take statements.
I have the photos of before and after.
I'll take a look at the photos.
This is them when they were starting out on their journey. And then that was after it was damaged. He has entirely his whole life. He's the only child, and I did not pursue my career. I was in the military for 8 years, and I did not pursue my career when I got out of the military to be at home with him and spend time with him. and to be a good mother. And he was in private schools. He had the best of everything, and I think that it's time that he takes responsibility for his actions.
Miss Exline, you don't get payback from children for doing the right thing. That's what you're supposed to do as a mother. You're supposed to sacrifice and make sure that your children have things that you didn't have, and make sure that they have a better education than you had. And if it involved you staying home, not having a career, that doesn't necessarily make you a better mother than somebody who works, has a career, and tries to be a good mother at the same time. So you don't get payback for whatever sacrifices you think you made for your children. I certainly would never, and certainly under these circumstances where I have no proof that this was caused by something other than a defect in the four-wheeler that happened serendipitously at the time that he drove it. And it may have been that they went over a rock. But certainly they didn't purposely do anything. He doesn't look like a nut. Do anything to put themselves and his wife in harm's way. I don't know what your problem is. But I'm speaking. But your problem should not be resolved in a court. Now, Mr. Pace, if you weren't having a good time at your mother's house, you had several options. You could leave, or you could not leave. You also don't bring that sort of nonsense to a court. Courts are very busy. Certain things have to be left to be resolved within a family. This is one of them. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
All right, is that excused? You may step out.
I think it was a fair decision.
I think it's ridiculous. I think he should pay.
Like I told her before, she bought it, the four-wheeler, extremely cheap, and I told her if you get a good deal on something, it might always be the best for your money.
If you borrow something and you tear it up, you ought to pay.
We stopped on the road, and we had no way to get back. We were in the middle of nowhere, so we had to hitch a ride home.
He called me on the phone and said, Mom, the wheel is crooked.
We were going to go pick it back up. She didn't want us to use her truck to go get it, so we had to take the neighbor to go get it, pick it up.
I use that four-wheeler every day. I've used it for everything. It's constantly in use, and it's not for recreational use. It's for work.
I think it's ridiculous, too. I think the whole situation's just, it should have never happened.
I told her before that I thought something was wrong with it. I probably should have never rode it.
The four-wheeler's already broke when we rode it, and we shouldn't have rode it, but it shouldn't be our responsibility to fix it.
I think we'll be able to work it out between us and figure out something to do.
Him paying for the four-wheeler. That's the bottom line.
It's sad because they should have a really, really close, relationship, and this big mess has just come between us.
John Allen is suing his ex-friend, Karen Stevenson, for a loan to keep her from going to jail. Karen claims the loan never took place.
All rise. Yeah, that's case number 472 on the calendar in the matter of Allen versus Stevenson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Allen, it is your claim that the defendant borrowed some money from you. She's a former girlfriend of yours. Ms. Stevenson says that you're a con guy. She never borrowed any money from you. She doesn't know what you're talking about. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go.
Okay. Yes, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and we decided to part ways, and we remained friends. On about the middle of September, about a week before I actually loaned her the money, she called me in desperation and said Lisa had taken a checkbook that no longer existed, a checking account, wrote a check out for $1,800. She needed money, that the bank was pressing charges, and
she wrote out a bad check?
Yes, Lisa.
Is Lisa here?
No.
Where is she?
She lives in Florida.
Who does she live with in Florida?
Herself.
What does she do for a living?
She's a cashier.
Ever been arrested?
No.
Ever been charged with crime?
Lisa? No.
Lisa?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
So at the time, when she called me, she said, I need this money. If I don't pay this $1,800 back.
For Lisa?
For Lisa, they're going to arrest me because it was drawn on my bank account. So...
Oh, just a minute. Where do you live?
Salisbury, Maryland.
You live in Maryland, and somehow Lisa got hold of one of her old checkbooks.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa forged a check for $1,800.
Yes.
But there was no longer an account.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa cashed a check in Florida.
Somewhere, I don't know actually, when she said, but it was a check written on this account, and it bounced, so the bank was going to press charges, and if she didn't pay the money back, they were going to put her in jail.
Put who in jail?
Karen.
It's not true.
She didn't write a bad check.
Well, that's what she told me, ma'am.
That sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
I mean, doesn't that sound ridiculous? How old are you?
I'm 40, be 42 in March, ma'am.
42. What do you do for a living?
I have a few businesses. I'm going back to school, getting my real estate degree, and
What kind of businesses do you have?
I have a business running a company. I started in 1990.
What does it make? What does it do?
Well, I buy and resell food as like a Cisco or a U.S. food service.
You do that now?
No, right now I am in the process of going back to school. The company
So now you don't do anything?
No, the company still exists. I'm collecting my accounts receivables and stuff like that. Yes, ma'am. I'm still in the process. I have real estate I'm selling. I do various different things.
Who do you live with?
I live with my brother right now. I'm in the process of selling my real estate, my home.
You're in the
yes.
process of doing an awful lot, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you in the process of going through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am.
Did you go through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Did you ever apply for a bankruptcy?
No,
Did you
ma'am.
ever consult with a lawyer about a bankruptcy?
Yes, I have.
When?
I consulted with my lawyer in August, September, October, just discussing.
September of 2006?
Yes, ma'am.
About the same time that she was asking for some money?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why would you consult with an attorney about a bankruptcy, sir?
I'd just gone through a divorce. That you know, the settlement of property had to be dispersed. I had loans with my company, just seeking my different options, you know, out there. It was discussed, but it was never gone through. I'm in a process of selling my assets to pay debts. That was my choice to do it that way. You know, I want to make sure all of my bills are paid. That's why I'm selling my home, other real estate. I have a $1.5 million piece of business real estate that I'm in the process of selling.
What's the mortgage on it?
$790,000.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in June of '04.
In whose name is it?
It's in my company's name.
Which is?
Paradise Produce Company Incorporated.
Who else is a partner in Paradise Produce?
Nobody. I'm 100% owner.
You're current on your mortgage payments?
Not at this time, no. They are in the process of being sold right now.
Is there a contract for the sale of the property?
Yes, there is a contract for the sale of the property. It's pending on other things, you know, that's going on in the community. So,
You got a lot going on in your life, Mr.
Yes, ma'am, I do. I'm a very active man.
You're got a lot going on.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so she asked you for this $1,800, and what did you do, sir? I just wanted to get a sense, because I have to figure out who's pulling my leg and who's not.
I wrote her this check out from one of my bank accounts. I have numerous bank accounts because I have personal things, business things, and all that. And I actually wrote it out to her name and put loan on the memo. I handed this check to her on September 26th, and she took it, and I said, you can go right down the road and cash this check at my bank.
Where did you give it to her?
I gave it to her in the shopping center parking lot. I met her in Del Mar, Delaware, on the Delaware side. So that night, she called me back. She says, well, I don't think I can cash this check. I've lost my license, and I don't have a current checking account. I said, well, you can go right to the bank and cash this. I said, I made it out to you, and there's money in the checking account. She said, no, I'd rather you go to the bank and cash a check. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I said, but I would need this other check back. So the next day, I went to Laurie. This is my witness, Laurie Collins. Can I bring her forward, Judge? Or?
Who are you?
I'm a friend of John's.
What kind of a friend?
Close family friend for over 30 years.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went by Laurie's house. I discussed it with Laurie. I said, Laurie, I'm going to probably loan some money. I have loaned some money. She wants me to take the check back and go to the bank and cash the check and give her the $1,800. And Laurie said, well, just make sure that you keep this check here, the first check, if she gives it back to you.
First check is of no value.
Right.
Unless I can test for fingerprints on it.
Right. And then the second check is I wrote her name in the memo that I cashed this check. Here's
yeah,
the
well,
legal.
that's what you wrote.
And I went to the bank.
You cashed the check and wrote her name in the memo.
Right. So I told Laurie, I said, Laurie, I have loaned this lady some money. I said, as a friend, I just wanted somebody to know that I had loaned her the money.
Was she there when you gave her the money?
No, ma'am.
Good. Sit down.
And at the time I wrote the check out, I have bank accounts with different amount of figures in it. You know, right now, $25,000 on this. If I needed it, she claims that I needed the money for myself. I don't need it.
Just show me the account where you took out the $1,800.
Yes, right there.
Judy continues in a moment.
Pool tables, big screen TV, living room furniture, kitchen furniture, all that stuff has been auctioned off.
They've been auctioned off by whom?
An auctioneer.
And later today,
the only money that's owed is owed for the television.
Not entirely.
Most of it is for the television.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah, right.
John Allen claims former friend Karen Stevenson owes for a loan of $1,800.
Okay.
Your Honor, he states that the first check that he wrote me, he had $1,800 in that account. That's the check he first gave me. I subpoenaed his bank records. $1,800 was not in there. He had
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. He had $72.79 in that account.
Let me see. Can I see that check, please?
Sir, you wrote her a check on 9/26 for $1,800. You didn't have $1,800 in that account.
Right.
On which you wrote this $1,800 check.
Right.
Well, why would you write her an $1,800 check and tell her to go?
Because I was going to make a deposit in the account. I moved money from different checking accounts. I have interest-bearing accounts with my business and everything like that. I move money when I need money to pay bills like in
but
the
you
business.
didn't move any money here, sir. You didn't move any money here. 3 days later...
She gave me the check back because she said that she couldn't cash it.
I understand that.
Because she didn't have a
listen
license.
to me.
Yes, ma'am.
That was not the same day, sir. You already testified. It was the next day that she called you and said, I don't have a driver's license,
ma'am.
and therefore I can't cash this check.
Right.
Now, you had already told her to go and cash the check, which she could have done on 9/26.
That's right. That's right.
Okay? On 9/26, if she went to your bank,
Yes, ma'am.
and deposited that check, they would not have cashed that check because there was no balance in
They
that
could have
account.
moved the money from my business account, which is with the same bank, to cover my overdraft.
There's no overdraft privilege in here.
I'm sorry, I did lend this lady some money.
Go ahead.
He also says he gave me the $1,800. I was leaving that day to go out of town for a wedding. I was running around getting my nails done, my hair done. He didn't give me $1,800.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, let's start out with the conversation that you had with him about Lisa.
There was no conversation about Lisa. He knows she was in town for maybe a week or two. She moved back to Florida. I don't have a checking account. I don't have any checks. I haven't had a checking account in 3 years.
So you never had a discussion with him about a loan?
No.
Never had a discussion with him about giving you any money?
No.
Why do you think he would make up this convoluted story?
Your Honor, his business account had been frozen because he owes so many people money. Okay? He couldn't even make payroll. John and I continued to talk. We were good friends. He wanted me to help him take the money out of his county bank and put in a safety deposit box, put in my name, and he wanted to put the cash in there so they couldn't touch that money. Then I told him I didn't want to be involved in that because they're going to want to know where this $21,000 is. I didn't want that in my name. I didn't want any part of that. He tried to get several people to do that, and I wouldn't do it.
So what you're saying is he tried to get several people to accept checks?
Yes.
From him?
Yes.
And squirrel away the money?
Yes.
In the event he decided to go through this with this bankruptcy?
Absolutely.
Keep going.
I mean, he says in one statement that I was supposed to pay him back in 2 weeks. John and I continue to be friends. He had a surprise birthday party for his brother. I was invited.
Don't tell me. Just tell me about the money.
There was no money.
Okay. When you told him that you didn't want to participate in this scheme,
yes,
what did he say to you?
That he had a couple other people that were thinking about taking the money and putting it in a safety deposit box, storing his personal property so it wouldn't be auctioned off, which it has been.
What personal property did he want to store with you?
Pool tables, big screen TV, four-wheeler, living room furniture, kitchen furniture, I mean, bedroom suits. He had a 2-story house fully furnished. All that stuff has been auctioned off.
They've been auctioned off by whom?
An auctioneer.
At whose?
I guess at his request. I really don't know. I know that his house was for sale.
Did you have an auction?
Yes, ma'am, I did. To pay my debts and everything. The pool table, big screen TV, all that stuff was auctioned off to pay debts that I incurred during divorce. I'm in process of selling 2 pieces of property, a business piece of property, all my assets to pay my debts. I am not filing for bankruptcy. I am
Well,
going to
it's
be
a little
paying.
more difficult now to file for bankruptcy,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, because what you're suggesting to me is if you own a piece of property that's worth $1.5 million and you have a $790,000 mortgage,
Yes, ma'am.
if you file for bankruptcy, you're not going to see any of that money.
Yes, ma'am.
So in order to see any of that money, if you pay off your creditors now, then you'll be able to maybe walk away with a couple $100,000.
No, ma'am, I'm not going to walk away with anything. My assets are about $2.2 million. I owe about $2.1. So, time I pay auctioneers, realtors, all that stuff.
So it doesn't pay for you. So you have assets of $2 million and you have debts of about the same. So you can't go into bankruptcy. That
Right.
doesn't mean you're bankrupt. It just means that you have to go to work. My problem, Mr. Allen, is you seem to be a businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Business people, you have mortgages, you have attorneys, you have
Right.
all kinds of other things. And you're not unfamiliar with court.
Yes, ma'am.
So here you come to a court and you say, I made a loan to this lady. Put your hand down. I made a loan to this lady. I did not memorialize that loan in any way. This check is of no value.
Right.
Because she never endorsed it. I can take out my checkbook and write out a check to Petrie Hawkins Bird in the amount of $10,000 and say, I gave him this check.
Right.
He gave it back to me, and I gave him the 10 grand in cash. And this is some evidence that I gave him that money, right?
Right.
I didn't give you any money today. No. So this is evidence of nothing.
Right.
The only evidence that it is, sir, is that she subpoenaed this bank account, which says at the time you allegedly wrote this check out to her, you didn't have sufficient money to cover the check in the bank.
Right.
Now, you did have another bank
Yes, ma'am.
where you could have written a check that would have cleared.
Right.
As a matter of fact, according to you, you did just that 3 days later. You didn't go to this bank where you could have moved money around. You went to this bank where you took out $1,800. All of this leaves me with a very uneasy feeling, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I have a very uneasy feeling, sir, the fact that you brought a witness that says that you told her all about this loan is of no value. So, Mr. Allen, it is possible, just possible, that you loaned her $1,800.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You understand my problem with your proof, sir?
I understand. I understand.
Are you sympathetic with me, sir?
Yes.
Good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'm not very happy about it, but it's $1,800 lesson, I guess, and not loan money to friends who are supposed to be your friend.
He doesn't like my boyfriend.
People that are scammers will scam, and she'll continue to scam the rest of her life.
They were good friends, and I'm not dating John anymore. I'm dating a friend of his.
I really don't want to be associated with people like that.
It just didn't work out, but I'm better off without him in my life.
People should watch out for a lady like her, because she is a scammer.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pittman versus Ariza, step forward, please.
Joel and Wendy Pittman are suing former friend Fabian Ariza for damaging their SUV during a party. The Pittmans claim a drunken Fabian pushed a fellow partygoer into the vehicle.
You two people are married to each other?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been married?
3 years tomorrow.
According to your complaint, there was a party. Was the party at your house?
It was.
Defendant was an invited guest at the party. It's your claim that he became drunk, and during the course of an altercation with another guest, he dented your car by pushing the other guest into your car, causing the dent. That's your claim.
That's correct.
So I have a couple of questions. When was this party?
April 22nd.
How many people were at the party?
15 and 20, off and on.
Did everybody bring alcohol, or was alcohol served at the party?
Both.
Did the defendant bring his own alcohol?
He did.
What kind of alcohol did you bring?
I just brought a bottle of whiskey. Everybody was drinking, though. Everybody there it was a party. We were just going to have a good time.
Listen, if I want more of an answer, I'll ask you. Right now, I just asked you one thing. What
All right.
kind of liquor did you bring?
Just a bottle of whiskey.
What kind of whiskey?
Old Turkey.
You were asking me? That was a question. I don't know. I didn't bring
It's
any
been a
whiskey.
little while, I'm sorry.
Where did you get it from?
I bought it from a liquor store. I'm 24. I can legally buy and drink liquor.
I wasn't accusing you of anything illegal,
I'm sorry.
sir.
Sorry.
I just asked you where you got it from. You bought it at a store. And what did you drink at the party, Mr. Rosario?
I drank on the bottle of whiskey.
Just your own liquor?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't drink any of his liquor?
No, ma'am.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Otherwise, it would have been his fault. Now tell me what happened.
He arrived at around 11:30, and everything was going good. A little bit later, Sam arrived. That was the first time they'd met, and they got along pretty good at first. They kind of roughhoused him a little bit eventually, and I guess...
Don't tell me what you guessed. I only want to know what you saw.
I saw that he kind of got tired of roughhousing and started maybe taking it a little too serious. And at one point, he pushed Sam into the wall outside of our house. And Sam got up and left. And a little bit later, he arrived back and started apologizing to everyone.
Why was he apologizing? Because he was drunk?
Yeah, because he was drunk and because he was apologizing for the scene that he'd caused and offered to shake his hand and said, you know, we're cool, everything's good, I'm sorry. And he wasn't real receptive of the apology, and he didn't want to, you know, he was still pretty upset. So he walked off the porch into the front yard where he met Sam. And as he approached, Sam kind of opened his arms like he was almost like he was going to hug him. And when they got to that point, he just kind of shoved him off and into the passenger door of my vehicle.
You have a picture of the vehicle?
I do.
I'd like to see it. It's a good shove. You saw the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I didn't think Sam was very amusing or entertaining. I didn't like him when I met him at all. And when he wanted to roughhouse or anything like that, I wasn't playing. And I made that clear because he came over and me and Billy were talking. As we were talking, he kept coming up trying to make snide comments and make little cheap jokes. And I played along at first, and then slowly I thought, okay, man, that's pretty cool. Okay, fine, funny, you're a funny guy. And eventually I told him, listen, just stop, just go away, bother somebody else. And finally it got to a point where I just said, listen, shut your mouth if you know it's good for you. And at that point, he tried to grab me. Before he put his hands, he said, let's see what you're going to do then. Before he put his hands on me, I pushed him back. That's when he hit the wall. He left, he came back, tried to apologize. He made me mad after he came back and tried to apologize because he said, it's okay, man, I'm not mad. And I took offense to that because I didn't expect him to be mad. He should be apologizing to me. He's the one that instigated. He instigated everything.
Mr. Ariza, you pushed him into a wall.
He was trying to grab
Listen to me. You pushed him into a wall. If you don't like what he says, that's words. You have no right to put your hands on anybody. Ever.
I was under the impression.
Ever. So you put your hands on him
Yes,
without
ma'am.
cause, pushed him into a wall.
He was
fell
about
down.
to put his
I'm
hands on me
speaking.
first.
That's what you told me. So when he came back, he said, listen, it's cool, I'm not mad. You still felt that he should apologize to you because he was being verbally stupid.
Either way, I didn't want an apology. I didn't want to converse with him any further. And everyone told me just to drop the issue. And I didn't want to. But eventually I said, oh, okay, fine. And I went to shake his hand. And that's when he actually grabbed me. And at that point, we stumbled a little bit. And I turned around and I tried to push him off. And it took a minute. And I finally did just push him off. And he fell into the truck. I did push him, yeah. But I didn't know the Tahoe was there. And
Well, the Tahoe didn't appear from the sky.
I wasn't really paying too much attention to anything else.
You weren't paying too
with the
much
guy wrapped
attention
around
because,
me.
sir, you weren't paying too much attention because you were drunk, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were so drunk that according to this answer that I read, sir, you were angry at the plaintiff because you had had an arrangement with the plaintiff to sleep over at his house.
I didn't want to have to drive drunk
I'm
later.
speaking. The answer is yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And he did tell you to leave after you damaged his car. You got into your car because you were drunk, and your car went into a ditch and was damaged, right?
Yes, ma'am. And that's one reason I was surprised that he brought this to court, because I didn't sue him for what happened to me.
How could you sue him? For your stupidity?
I figured we were even Stevens because...
I know that's what you think, but I'm telling you, you're not thinking with what God gave you to think with. You're thinking with another part of your anatomy. Nobody forced you to get into your car and drive home. You don't drink and drive.
Well, it's pretty irresponsible of him to try and send me home anyway.
You just told me you're 24 years old, and I'm old enough to buy liquor. I'm old enough, I can go in. I'm not doing anything wrong with buying liquor. He forced you to get into your car?
He didn't force me, but at the time I wasn't really thinking that I had any other option.
You weren't thinking, sir, because you were drunk. And when you get drunk, you do stupid things.
They were drunk, too. They were doing plenty of stupid things on their own.
Absolutely, sir. We're not here talking about what one stupid drunk does as opposed to another. This stupid drunk caused this damage. Let me see the estimate, please. I'm finished with him. Good, then you can be quiet. I hate drunk cases. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,027. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was ridiculous. I think it was kind of it's all one big joke. It's like I'm the punchline.
There were about 20 people there. It was hard to keep an eye on everyone.
I get this all the time because I am tall. He said, and he's a pretty short guy. He said, man, you're pretty tall. How tall are you? And I just heard that 1,000 times.
I don't think asking somebody how tall they are is instigating.
I got up and I told everybody what I had to think, what I thought about that, and I drove away.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Scott. Step forward.
Stacy Johnson is suing the mother of her daughter's boyfriend, Stacy Scott, for the cost to fix her 2005 Chevy Cobalt. The plaintiff claims Stacy's son drove the car without permission and wrecked it.
Miss Johnson, this is your daughter, and Miss Scott, this is your son. According to what I've read, your daughter was dating the defendant's son. You let her use the family car?
Yes.
Because they were going out. They went out after they were finished with their date or whatever they were doing that evening. Your daughter let the defendant's son drive your car. He had an accident and the car was damaged. You want Miss Scott to pay for it.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. How old are you?
16.
How old are you?
16.
Who's older? Raise your hand. What kind of a driver's license do you have? Or did you have at the time of this accident?
What do you mean?
Did you have a permit? Did you have a full license? What kind of driver's license did you have?
I had my license, but my 3 months weren't all the way up yet.
What does that mean, Tristan?
That I wasn't supposed to have anyone else in the car.
Unless it's an adult.
Right.
If you had an adult in the car, you could drive. Yes?
Yes.
And when was your probationary period up?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember the day exactly.
Well, let's try to remember. When did you get your license?
Do you know when it was?
November.
November, I think.
When did this accident happen?
In November.
No, I think you got your. I think she got her birthday's in June, and you had to wait 30 days, and I believe she got her license probably 45 days after her birthday. And then there was a 3-month period she could drive with an adult or by herself, but she couldn't have anybody in the car under 21.
Okay. And this accident happened during that period of time,
Yes.
when she was on probationary period.
Right.
And you let her take the car during this probationary period.
Yes.
And you let her take the car, according to you, knowing that she was picking up the boyfriend.
Yes.
And they were going to the mall, bowling or something?
Yes.
Why did you do that, Miss Johnson?
Bad decision.
Put your hand down. Very bad decision.
Yes, it was.
You allowed your daughter to do something that was against the law.
Yes.
Now, where did you go that evening?
Went to the mall, and we went to Dairy Queen, and we was on our way to the bowling alley.
Could you speak up, please?
To the mall, then we went to Dairy Queen, then we was on our way to the bowling alley.
What were you doing driving the car? Because you have no license.
And we left the mall, and she wasn't feeling well, so
What was wrong with her?
I guess she had a headache.
You have a headache that night?
Yes.
So did you say to her, I don't have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
And what happened?
When we got on,
Could you keep your voice up? Why do I have to strain to hear you?
we was driving on 7th Street.
No, we weren't driving. You were driving.
Yeah, well, I was driving on 7th Street, and then there's some cars parked in the no parking zone, and I hit one of them.
You didn't hit it because it was parked in the no parking zone, right?
No, ma'am.
Wasn't the car's fault.
No.
It was your fault.
Yes.
Right. How much damage was done to the car?
$4,000. I have pictures.
I'll look at the pictures. Now, Miss Scott, were you home when your son went out that evening?
Yes.
She picked him up in the car?
Yes. She had done that on numerous occasions before.
Did you give your son permission to drive the car?
Absolutely not.
At the time that she picked him up, did you know she was on probation?
No.
You did not know that?
No, I did not know till the night this happened.
The night that this happened, you got a call from the police that there had been an accident?
No, I got a call from my son immediately after it happened to get to the scene because they had had a bad accident.
Now, Miss John, what?
That's not quite true. She did not pick him up. They met at the mall, and they were having dinner at the mall and going to the bowling alley, and she was to drop him off.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
So you met at the mall?
Yes.
Who took you to the mall?
My grandfather.
Now, Miss Johnson, who do you think is responsible for paying for the damage to your car?
Brandon's parents.
Wrong. You are.
Why is that?
Because the only adult who had the information that your daughter was not permitted to drive with anyone else in the car, that teenagers have generally bad judgment, so the state says, we're not going to give them the ability to hurt somebody because they're still a little young, so they're going to have to demonstrate to us with a probationary period that they're responsible enough. The only one that had that information, the only adult, was you. Miss Scott didn't have that information.
I'm not sure I believe that.
I don't care what you believe. The only thing I know for certain is that you permitted your daughter, in violation of the law, to take a car knowing that she was going to take an underage person at some point in the car. You knew that. His mother didn't know that. Who is this?
Brandon's
Father, Ron.
You didn't know that,
No, I didn't.
but you knew that. And I'll tell you something else, Miss Johnson. What's your first name?
Brandon.
If Brandon was seriously injured in this car accident, you would be responsible for his injuries. Forget the car. The Scott family would own your home. Being a parent requires you to be a parent, not a friend. And if your daughter wanted to go to the mall and pick up her boyfriend and be with her boyfriend and then drop him off home, your responsibility as a parent is to take her there and pick her up and to drop the boyfriend home. And if she says, oh, come on, but you know, it's just a minute, you're supposed to be a parent and say, no, that's against the law. So you allowed her to break the law. So what's the big deal if she says, listen, he doesn't have a driver's license, so what's the big deal? My mother allowed me to break the law. I'll break the law by letting him drive. That's what she learned from you that day, and probably on other dates as well. So I have absolutely no sympathy with you. Pay for the car yourself. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's a responsibility on both of our parts.
It was a fair decision. I made a bad mistake.
But we both have good children.
Shouldn't have been driving with someone who didn't have a license.
But they've learned from the mistake.
Wait till I get my license and learn from it.
I guess I go behind her back. I know I'm not supposed to.
She's 16. She'll figure it out one of these days.
Case number 2021, Parker versus Miles. All parties, please step forward.
Frankie Parker is suing his tenant, Miranda Miles, for the cost of a French bulldog.
Mr. Parker, this case is about a puppy that you allegedly sold to the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
That you want to be paid for. She has some sort of nonsense counterclaim.
Yes,
which I will get to and resolve quickly.
Great.
So, Mr. Parker, you have a home that has 2 units in it?
We have a triplex, so it's a house and then it's a triplex behind the house.
So you live in the main house?
Yes.
Behind the main house, there are 3 units?
Yes.
When did you rent one of the 3 units to the defendant?
I rented it to her around February. I think I put the ad in early February.
Of what year?
2022.
Is that correct, Ms. Miles, that you moved into the unit in approximately February of 2022?
It was March, but yeah.
You put the ad in February?
Yes, ma'am.
Moved in March. And what was the rent that you had?
$12.50.
You have children?
Yes.
How many?
1.
How old?
9.
According to what I read, you decided to go into the dog breeding business.
Yes, ma'am.
You knew nothing about dog breeding.
Well, I know about dogs, but I didn't know about French bulldogs. That was kind of new to me.
What is your regular business, sir?
Property management.
Other than the property that you live in, do you have any other property that you manage?
Yes, ma'am.
You're really supposed to be sort of an expert before you go into the breeding business.
Yeah, well, I
dog
had a
breeding
lot of
business.
help.
That's sort of a foolhardy thing.
I had a lot of help. I wasn't by myself. I had people that was already breeding. They had 20 years.
Okay,
30
so
years
you had
experience.
somebody to
Yes,
give
ma'am.
you sort of instruction.
I didn't just jump into it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And you decided to breed French bulldogs.
Yes, ma'am.
You purchased your first 2 French bulldogs, a male and a female, when?
I purchased them around January.
Of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you bought another one.
Yes, ma'am. Another good
When
female.
did you purchase the other one?
I bought the other female around February.
Okay, that's about the same time that you posted an ad for this unit that you moved into.
Yes, ma'am. All around the same.
And that dog, I believe, based upon my recollection and my memory isn't what it used to be, I think the dog's name is Dolce.
Dolce, yes, ma'am.
How old was Dolce when you purchased her in February?
She was approximately 3 months.
How much did you pay for her?
I paid $3,200 for her.
And did you have AKC papers for her?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, according to your complaint, when the defendant moved in, she moved in March, she moved in with her 9-year-old daughter. The 9-year-old daughter saw this dog, Dolce, became attached to the dog,
yes,
fell in love with the dog, and the defendant agreed to purchase the dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And you acknowledge that you agreed to purchase the dog.
Yes.
In March of 2022, how much did you agree to pay Mr. Parker for the dog?
When I rented the apartment, he's told me $2,500.
No,
He told you
that's
20.
not true.
Now,
He said $3,500.
Miss, shh.
Frankie Parker claims his tenant, Miranda Miles, owes for the cost of a French bulldog. Miranda is countersuing for harassment and invasion of privacy.
Miss Miles, I want you to think more clearly. Try to be clear. He had just paid $3,200 for the dog.
I didn't know that.
So, according to you, he agreed to sell you the dog for $2,500.
Yes. And then he changed it to $35 when I moved in.
Oh, so before you moved in, he said $25, but after you moved in, he said $35. Yes. Did you agree to pay him the $35?
Yes.
Okay, so now you have an agreed price of $3,500, which sounds more reasonable than $25 because he paid more for the dog.
Yeah, that's not entirely true. I told her $5,000 at first.
Okay.
But we'd do a co-ownership, which brought the price down to $3,500.
Okay. Right now, she agreed to pay you $3,500.
Yes.
She doesn't understand from co-ownership. You're talking about breeding down the road. Did you pay him any part of the $3,500?
No.
Okay. Now let's go further. Are you still living in the unit behind him?
Yes.
So now that's March, April, May, June, July, August. Did you pay March's rent?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
May?
Yes.
June?
Yes.
July?
Yes.
And August?
Not yet.
Did she pay everything except August so far?
Yes, but I had to take her to court to almost evict her to get the money.
Okay. When did you start eviction proceedings? In what month?
I started eviction proceeding in June.
How much behind in rent was she?
She was just that month, but she had been late 2 prior times. So.
Okay. How late is late?
Well, I give you a grace period up to the 4th. Sometimes it's like the 10th.
Sometimes it was like the 10th.
Yes.
So we're not talking about months late.
No, she always paid.
When you took her to court to evict her for non-payment of rent, she came up with the money.
Yes.
Now, we're August 5th now. Did you pay your rent?
Not yet. Honestly, I'm struggling. I'm unemployed right now, and he knows my situation with my bank and my account right now, and he knows why. I have no funds at this moment.
Oh, but that's his business.
I get it.
See, that's his business. Do you work?
Not at the moment.
Why?
Because I got fired.
Why?
Because I didn't have transportation, and I've been...
So you didn't go. Well, if you don't go to work or if you come late, then you get fired.
Right, and I also have health problems that I've been going through as well.
That is also, Miss Miles, not his problem.
I know.
Now, I'm going to go back to something that Mr. Parker said, because I think that it's sort of important for me to be able to resolve your counterclaim, because for sure you owe him the price of the dog, which you still have, correct?
Yes.
Did he discuss with you a co-ownership of the dog, which would mean that you would share the litters if the dog was bred?
Yeah, he did. I wasn't very clear about it, but yes, he did, and I was willing to do that, so I was able to afford the dog.
That's going to help me resolve the issue. And you gave him no part of the $3,500?
No.
So, do you want to tell me what your defense is to this? Because your counterclaim is ridiculous. I don't even remember what it is. For harassment, slander, invasion of privacy?
He comes to my house, knocks on my door randomly all the time, every day.
Then move. Just a second. Then move.
He put cameras on all my neighbors.
Listen to me.
I don't have the money.
Listen to me. Move.
I don't have the money.
Well, that's, again, not his problem. He wants his rent on time, and he would like to be paid for his dog.
Right.
Okay, let's move on
Okay.
to something that's viable. Okay? Let's talk about this breeding of the dog, which I think would be absolutely ridiculous. Have you taken the dog to the vet?
Yes.
Dog's gotten its shots?
Absolutely.
Okay. And other than the fact that you say you're not working, there's no reason that you're not paying him for the dog, which you originally agreed to.
No.
$3,500, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
But, Your Honor, she's supposed to get full breeding rights.
I'm not giving her full breeding rights to anything. She can't take care of herself or her 9-year-old. She has no money. How is she going to breed a dog?
We can't do the co-ownership.
No, well, you're not doing a co-ownership, sir. She just bought the dog for $3,500. Period.
That wasn't the agreement.
Just a second. You keep the papers. Do you understand?
Okay.
Do you keep the papers? She doesn't get the AKC papers.
Okay.
She keeps the dog, which means she's going to take care of the dog, get it spayed, do whatever she's supposed to do with the dog. Okay. You get $3,500, and don't make deals like this again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
This court is adjourned.
I wanted either to have the full dog and not no co-ownership, but I guess it didn't work out for me.
You know, I was trying to get the whole amount, so we won't have to do a co-ownership anymore. She can either get the dog, the whole rights to it, or just pay me out.
I think he was trying to help me pay for it, and that's why he said the co-ownership, because I was unable to pay for the whole $5,500.
The whole rights to it, or just pay me out, you know.
I think that's what he was trying to do.
But I think overall the judgment was fair.
We live next door, so we have to.
I hope that we can actually do this together, and
we're good. Me and him are good.
I hope it does run smoothly and we don't have any more mishaps.
The case itself was easy, Sarah. Promised you'd buy the dog. Your daughter is in love with the dog. And he said, well, I can't pay for it. This time, the dog is attached, and he seems like a very, very nice man. But we had 2 little Maltese dogs once. I don't know if you remember them.
I remember the story.
Do you remember the story? You were too young to remember the dogs. They were 2 little yappy Maltese dogs, and we thought it might be an interesting experience to breed them.
Oh, yeah. 2 New York City judges.
2 New York City judges decided that it was the worst experience. First of all, I remember after, and I think we had 2 or maybe 3 in the litter, and I couldn't leave them home. So I would take them in a box in my car to the courthouse and open the drawer and keep them in the drawer so that I could feed them, because this mother that wasn't a very good mother for the dogs, and she didn't want to be bothered feeding, so I had a bottle that they had to be fed every 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
They were
it's a full-time job.
It was a full.
You
Believe
get
me,
involved.
It was a full-time
when
job. That's it. But it was our last time. You really have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's
Educated.
really not fair for the dogs. That's one of the reasons why she did not get the AKC papers, because she's having a hard enough time taking care of herself.
But now she has a pet that her 9-year-old and her can enjoy, and that's the end of it.
That's it.